go through all of them. The first one, Mr. Speaker, is on the implementation of the presidential directive on lowering the entry requirements for diploma teacher training programs. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to request a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the implementation of the presidential directive on lowering of entry requirements to diploma teacher training colleges. In the statement, the committee should, 1, confirm whether the Ministry of Education has implemented the presidential directive on lowering of entry requirements to diploma teacher training programs to a mini grade of C plain and C+ in the 2 teaching subjects. 2, confirm whether the ministry is aware that colleges are unable to implement the presidential directive owing to the absence of a circular to enforce the presidential directive. 3, indicate whether the circular will be issued and subsequently communicated to colleges. And 4, provide a list of colleges that will now offer diploma courses in secondary education while indicating their areas of specialization for both arts and science subjects following this directive. Statement number 2 is on pending bills in Taita Taveta County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the status of pending bills in Taita Taveta County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a list of all suppliers, the cost of goods supplied and services rendered, amounts paid, and outstanding payments from financial year 2017-2018 to date, stating reasons for the non-payment of any outstanding bill. 2, outline the county government's plan to settle the pending bills while indicating the proposed budgetary allocation per financial year for the pending bills. 3, confirm whether the presidential directive in 2019 on settlement of pending bills was implemented by the county government while presenting a record of the suppliers' amounts already disbursed and the amounts outstanding. And 4, explain how the 420, I think it should be 424, that prompted the release of these funds. Mr. Speaker, the third statement is on the completion status of Voi Girls School in Taita Taveta County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education concerning the status of completion of the construction of Voi Girls School in Voi Sub-County of Taita Taveta County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, disclose the funds allocated to the county by the Kenya Railway Corporation for the relocation of Voi Girls School to pave way for the construction of the standard gauge railway SGR, detailing any financial transactions and agreements made in the process. 2, provide the bill of quantities for the project, clearly stating the projected costs of each aspect of the construction and any other related expenses. 3, state the project completion rate and the amount of money paid to date, including a breakdown of payments made and the respective stages of the project they covered since the project initiation. And 4, explain whether there is any pending payment, stating reasons for the delay in making such payment, and detail any outstanding construction and landscaping works along with the expected duration of time required for the project completion. The last one, Mr. Speaker, is on the disregard of the conditions of allotment of Msambweni community land to Batashu Company Limited Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the disregard of the conditions of allotment of Msambweni community land in Voi Sub-County, Taita Taveta County to Batashu Company Limited. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain why Batashu Company Limited did not build a factory on the Msambweni community land situated in Voi Sub-County, Taita Taveta County, which was allocated to it, but instead transferred the lease grant to Sparkle Properties Limited in contravention of the conditions of allotment. 2, provide a status update on investigations by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations into the transfer of the lease grant for the land. And 3, outline any measures put in place to ensure that residents of Msambweni who occupy the land are not evicted by Sparkle Properties Limited. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The statement by Senator Hamida Kibwana is deferred. That is pursuant to the request by the said Senator, Senator Christo Asige.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the prevalence of corporal punishment in our education institutions. In this statement, the committee should explain the justification for the continued use of corporal punishment, though it contradicts the principles outlined in the Constitution of Kenya, specifically provisions of Article 29 of our Constitution, as well as Section 4P of the Basic Education Act, number 14 of 2013. Outline the mechanisms in place for students to report incidences of corporal punishment within education institutions without fear of retaliation or reprisal, and state the safeguards in place to protect witnesses in such cases, suggesting that the actual number of student deaths could be much, much higher, with at least 20 reported only in the last few years, and explain the absence of punitive measures taken against individuals responsible for these corporal punishments, and investigate the factors contributing to this gross lack of accountability. I thank you.
Senator Mohammed Chute, you have 5 requests to make.
Yes.
Take them in that breath.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll go through it very fast. The first one is on the status of court construction projects in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights regarding the status of court construction projects in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide an update on the status of court construction projects across the country, particularly in Marsabit County, highlighting the projects that have stalled or delayed and the reason behind these delays. 2, inform the Senate of the process used in tendering for the projects, providing details of the bids received, the contractors who were awarded, and the bid amounts. 3, provide a breakdown of the budget allocation and expenditure for the projects in the last 5 years, stating any financial, administrative, or logistical challenges that may have been encountered in the execution of the projects. And finally, number 4, Mr. Speaker, explain any disparities between the contractual and actual commencement and completion dates of the project, outlining plans by the government to expedite the completion of the project to ensure efficient and timely dispensation of justice. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on the financial status of the Kenya Railways Corporation. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a detailed report on the current financial status of Kenya Railways Corporation, including its revenue, expenses, and any outstanding debts or financial challenges it may be facing. Number 2, clarify whether the government has provided any financial support or bailouts to the institution in recent years, and if so, provide information on the amount, terms, and conditions of such support. Number 3, confirm if investigations or audits into the financial affairs of the institution has been conducted, stating the key findings and recommendations of such investigations. And finally, 4, provide details on the institution's revenue diversification strategies and efforts to address its financial challenges, indicating plans in place to ensure its long-term financial sustainability. 3, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism on the financial status of Kenya International Convention Center, KICC. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a detailed report on the current financial status of Kenyatta International Convention Center, including its revenue, expenses, and any outstanding debts or financial challenges it may be facing. 2, clarify whether the government has provided any financial support or bailouts to the institution in recent years, and if so, provide information on the amount, terms, and conditions of such support. 3, confirm if investigations on audits into financial affairs of the institution has been conducted, stating the key findings and recommendations of such investigations. And finally, 4, provide details on institution's revenue diversification strategies and efforts to address its financial challenges, indicating plans in place to ensure its long-term financial sustainability. 4, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism regarding the financial status of East African Portland Cement Company. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide detailed report on the current financial status of East African Portland Cement Company, disclosing its total assets and liabilities. 2, outline the categories of assets held by EAPCC, stating their respective values. 3, specify nature of outstanding liabilities and debts of EAPCC, explaining any safeguards put in place to ensure the company can meet these obligations. And finally, explain measures put in place to ensure EAPCC's operational efficiency, to ensure it maintains a strong financial position. My final statement is, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the unauthorized occupation and encroachment of land belonging to Kenya National Trading Corporation, KNTC. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide the total acreage of land belonging to KNTC, specifying the location and size of each parcel of land. 2, investigate the unauthorized occupation, encroachment, and land grabbing of KNTC land, particularly the parcel of land known as LR number 209/10343, situated in Loiter Street in Nairobi City County, disclosing the individuals or entities responsible and any legal action taken against them. And finally, outline any long-term strategies and policies in place to safeguard public land from illegal encroachment and land grabbing. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Gloria. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have two statements. Mr. Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the mysterious disappearance of one twin at Kayole 2 Level 4 Sub-County Hospital. In the statement, the committee should explain the apparent discrepancy in the incident that happened on 18th October 2023 in Kayole 2 Level 4 Sub-County Hospital in Nairobi, where a mother's ultrasound report had indicated the expectations of twins, while the hospital staff reported the presence of only one child after birth. 2, outline the hospital's standard procedures and verification protocols in place for confirming the identity of newborns and ensuring accurate matching with their biological parents. 3, provide an overview of the communication protocols in place to inform parents about their number and health status of their newborns, detailing how this information is conveyed to prevent misunderstanding or misinformation. And finally, 4, state measures implemented by Kayole 2 Level 4 Sub-County Hospital to provide ongoing support and assistance to the affected family during the course of investigation, including any necessary counseling or emotional support services needed. Mr. Speaker, on my second statement, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the decongestion of schools. In the statement, the committee should, 1, furnish the Senate with a comprehensive report detailing the composition...
Senator Gloria,
Huh?
the second statement, has
Yes.
it been approved for tabling?
Yes.
All right, proceed.
I can.
Proceed. Proceed.
In the statement, the committee should, 1, furnish the Senate with a comprehensive report detailing the composition of all public schools in Nairobi, with specific focus on the number of students per class in each school, the student-to-teacher ratio, the availability of desks and other amenities, and the transportation methods employed by students as they commute to school. 2, provide specific timelines within which the Ministry of Education allocates resources to schools that have high student enrollment with a view to ensuring a conducive learning environment to address factors like teacher-to-student ratios, classroom space, and the provision of adequate educational material. 3, state any plans by the ministry to address the incessant infrastructure and capacity challenges faced by schools in Dagoretti North and South, Mathare, and Starehe constituencies, considering the current levels of congestion in primary schools such as Kawangware, Ndurarwa, North High Ridge, Kiboro, and Mathare. And finally, 4, outline any measures the ministry is undertaking to engage local communities, including parents and school boards, to gather insights into the challenges faced by schools and to foster collaborative solutions for the long-term improvement of the education system. Thank you.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 56-1 AA. The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing. Next order. Senator Faki, you know exactly when to rise on a point of order. Next order, clerk.
It's amazing.
Order number 8, the County Public Finance Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 39 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the County Assembly Services Act and the Public Finance Management Act and for connected purposes. Order number 9, the Meteorology Bill, Senate Bills number 45 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the Kenya Meteorological Service Authority, regulation, coordination, monitoring, management, provision and control of meteorological services and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion, debate on the President's address to Parliament, first day.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's an honor and privilege for me to move the 10th address of the President to the joint sitting of the two houses in line with Article 132(1)(c) of the Constitution of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank members of this House and members of the National Assembly for turning out almost to full house in their numbers to listen to the President. Mr. Speaker, I wish to request this House that spirit should be, if possible, or as much as possible, be kept in ensuring that we debate on this speech. Mr. Speaker, because the speech of the President was both audio, video, and also in draft form, and all members followed it, I don't want to make the mistake of taking a lot of time in moving this motion, walking through the same speech, which members are familiar with. But just allow me to make a few points of highlights. The first one, Mr. Speaker, being the fact that the country was impressed with the President's commitment to the need for us to transform this country in keeping with our bottom-up economic plan. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Yes.
You need first start with the motion.
Oh, I needed to move the motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am extremely sorry. And if you allow me, Clerk, I would like to read the motion before I move it. Mr. Speaker, this is the danger of being assigned a job. You are excited to finish. But if it was me coming in my seat, I would have started by what I did. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I move the motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I move the motion, which is debate on the President's address to Parliament on the first day, being today. That pursuant to Standing Order number 25(1), the thanks of this Senate be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the address of His Excellency the President, delivered on Thursday, the 9th November 2023, and further, that the Senate notes the following report submitted by His Excellency the President in fulfillment of Articles 132(1)(c) and Article 247 of the Constitution of Kenya, laid on the table of the Senate today on Tuesday, 14th November 2023. This report, Mr. Speaker, included the 10th State of the Nation address by His Excellency the President, delivered at a joint sitting of Parliament on Thursday, 9th November. And 2, the 10th Annual Report 2022-2023 on the measures taken and progress achieved in realization of the national values and principles of governance. And 3, the annual report to Parliament on the state of the nation, the national security, November 2023. Mr. Speaker, with the advice of the clerk, because we want to allow as many people as possible to contribute, allow me not to be repetitive. What I had said in the 3 minutes earlier to apply during record of Hansard, copy and paste, so that I can move to the next point. My next point, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to congratulate the President for admitting before the joint sitting of the House that in Kenya today we have an existing condition, in fact conditions of extreme difficulty. There is extreme difficulty in the country. And some members of the public who mean well, they know that leadership must look for a solution. But other members of the public who want to score points want to use this opportunity of difficult circumstances that our people are going through to either make fun of leaders or confirm that they have failed. It is difficult. I've been in politics for over 20 years, and in my life, I have never been heckled in the Luo Nation. All the way from Kitale to Bungoma to Kakamega to Vihiga and to Busia and Luoland in the diaspora. Mr. Speaker, sir.
What is the point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Khalwale, the Senator of Kakamega, is misleading this House. In fact, as late as a few weeks ago, Boni Khalwale was heckled in his own village when he tried to convince people to replace the existing border motorcycles with electric ones. This is something of a matter of public record to which Mr. Khalwale, Honorable Khalwale, should not lie to this House.
But Senator Sifuna, I thought the good senator is admitting that for the first time he's going through a rough patch.
Mr. Speaker, I was saying that things are so difficult, my kid brother, that for a man who has never been heckled across the Luo Nation, all the way from Kitale to Kakamega to Bungoma to Busia to Vihiga and the diaspora, for the first time, I was not only heckled, Mr. Speaker, but I was actually heckled at Marinya Stadium. Thank you. I was heckled at Marinya Stadium. And at Marinya Stadium, that is my home. That is my polling station. Marinya Stadium is the product of my hands. It is where, Mr. Speaker, the youth on the eve of polling usually sleep in the polling station waiting for the polling officers to come and open the station and so that they can vote for me. And Mr. Speaker, where I have always gotten 41 votes out of 3,800 votes plus as opposition votes to me. And I know the honors of those votes. They are, like I'm speaking now, I can see the vote of Ben Alusiola. It's one of those ODM votes, you know, small things. Mr. Speaker, I reflected hard and long on this. And then shortly after that, I saw Kenya's most popular politician today, William Ruto. There was a similar experience somewhere in the coast. And I went thinking further, and I realized, I called the president, I couldn't access him. I wanted to tell him, these people, they like us so much, it's not that they're heckling. They want us to hear it from them direct, that things are bad. So it doubles our calling that we must work hard and serve Kenyans a solution. I want to urge colleagues, members of parliament, whether you are in the opposition, we have been there. Now I'm in the government. I have been there. Let us work together, even if we are going to oppose each other at the forthcoming election. We work hard enough. Members of the opposition push us hard enough so that we can deliver. We want to make sure that we come out of this confusion that, as we all know, was occasioned by 2 years of total lockdown on the global market, including, Mr. Speaker, Chwele market in the backyard of the Senator for Nairobi, including Lubao market was locked, Kayeke was locked, Mutwapa was locked for 2 years. There was no business. So things will take a while before we recover. I was talking to an economist, Mr. Speaker, and he was telling me something. If it is wrong, Americans, please forgive me. But the economist told me, it was not the economist in the House, the center of Migori. He told me the Americans are the only ones who enjoy the monopoly of printing money. And during the COVID time, they printed dollars and were putting on the accounts of Americans so that Americans could be cushioned from the difficulties of COVID-19 at that time. And he was telling me, he could be wrong, I don't know, I'm just sharing with you a good story of two adults when they are seated in the usual place. He told me, what's happening is that the Americans now, they are mopping out those dollars from the market. And therefore, the exercise of mopping out has made it difficult for you to get dollars. Obviously, when on the market a commodity is hard to get, when on the market a commodity is in high demand, it is called the law of supply and demand. That commodity becomes expensive. That's why the Kenya shilling, we are spending more money to get the dollar. The moment we get it right, you'll have your time to debate.
Senator Boni, what is the point of order, Senator Kenya?
Mr. Speaker, I like listening to the good doctor and Senator for Kakamega. But Mr. Speaker, you know, sometimes he confuses us. Right now, he talked about the usual place, Mr. Speaker. So I don't know which is the usual place. It can be a bullfighting field, Mr. Speaker. It can be a bar. For me, usual place is the church. So I didn't know what he meant.
Mr. Speaker, that is frivolous. But all the same, I want to advise the young senator that when you come of age, you will discover that people of adult age tend to sit in certain places in the evening so as to compare the greatness of their minds. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is because of that principle of supply and demand, the economist was telling me, that we are finding it difficult and finding the dollar very expensive. I'm hoping that he was right. Soon, the depreciation of our shilling will slow down. And I've been following it. I follow it every day. It used to appreciate from the time we took over government. It was appreciating sometimes by 20 shillings, sometimes by 5 shillings, like that. But now it has gone down. In the last 3 weeks, Mr. Speaker, it has been depreciating by cents. Today it was at 0.6. Before we went for weekend, it was at 0.5. Earlier on, it was 0.3. So we're doing well. And we would like to encourage Kenyans that you allow the things that the president spoke to that we put in place for us to ensure that our country recovers. And by the way, my dear colleagues, able friends from the opposition, we gave you a chance to tell Kenyans how you'd fix it. And you told us we were not doing it well. What were we doing? We were giving cheaper fertilizer. Now down from 7,000 to 2,500. And you told us that could not be the magic bullet. We said, be it. So you called big rallies, and I want to thank you for standing down your rallies. And your idea of lowering the food prices was putting cooking pots and sufurias on your heads. That kind of science, as a scientific mind, I can only relate it to mental illness. How on earth? It is not possible. If that is how we are going to teach our children at home, then we might as well outlaw education in this country. Mr. Speaker, the President, therefore, deserves our kudos for his commitment to our citizens. That was not only limited to that, but he also spoke to his commitment to the citizens' freedoms. His commitment, Mr. Speaker, to fundamental rights, and his commitment, Mr. Speaker, to democracy. Nothing is more important. Those of us who exercise fierce independence of mind, we do it because that has been our life, and we have decided that is our life. Young senator from Migori, at the age of 22, at the University of Nairobi, before I was discontinued, we poured into the streets of Nairobi because Haminwa had been detained. We poured into the streets of Nairobi at that time, Mr. Speaker, because Jaramogi Oginga Odinga had been put under house arrest somewhere in Bondo or his Kisumu house. The youth leader is here, Senator of Siaya will confirm. We poured into the streets. We poured in the streets, Mr. Speaker, because George Kidhi, the editor general of the Standard newspaper, had been detained at the age of 22. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I and others, we were discontinued from the University of Nairobi. So, because we believed in those things then, I don't see how I can lose sight of the fact that people paid, including Kenneth Matiba, including Martin Shikuku, including John Maria Serone, who were detained because of defending the freedom of speech. Nobody should ever deny a politician or any other Kenyan the freedom to speak. I therefore want to use this platform this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, to condemn the violence that was visited on the Orange Democratic Movement Member of Parliament of Mumias East constituency by the governor of Kakamega because he was not comfortable with the speech of that MP. The MP belongs to DAP. That's what you wanted to correct me. And the governor with bad manners belongs to ODM. Mr. Speaker, we must condemn this. People must speak. How can you stop people from speaking? Mr. Speaker, the issue of freedom of speech is so fundamental that I have been arraigned in court in this country because of, you'll debate, relax.
What is the point of order, Senator Edi?
Mr. Speaker, I'm on a point of order on relevance. Mr. Speaker, the majority whip has been invited into this house on this floor to move a motion on the State of National Address by His Excellency William Ruto, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenyan Defense Forces. Mr. Speaker, is Senator Boni in order to use this precious time of this wonderful house to discuss village politics and bullfighting? You know, Mr. Speaker, you know, it's very disappointing because focus on what the president say. If you cannot understand what the president said or you don't have the confidence in defending it, then just sit down. The members of the house will help you because you're even confusing the entire nation.
Senator Edi, what is your point of order? You're not supposed to give a speech.
Yeah, but Mr. Speaker, I wanted to find Senator Boni out of order to bring irrelevant
issues and village politics in presidential speech. Let him move this speech and let him defend it as the majority whip. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddy, one of the aspects as contained in that particular speech by the president are the freedoms we enjoy, including the freedom of speech. And that's why Senator Boni was giving an example. He's quite in order to do that. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to be very humble. My son, it's always good, Mr. Speaker, for our...
Refer to your colleague as the Honorable Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to call him my son because he has got the handsome, youngish face of Tigana. So I thought he was Tigana, my son. I wish to recall. Mr. Speaker, it pays in your first term in Parliament, and my age mate, Oburu is here. Senator Oburu will confirm to you that it pays to spend some little time to learn. On the exposition of the speech of the president normally makes bullets. If you go to bullet 10, it will call your point of order to shame. Because in bullet 10, the president speaks to citizens' freedoms and fundamental rights, and he says they lie at the heart of the enterprise and democracy. So if we don't laud it, so that the children at the University of Nairobi, who will be soon taking over from us here as our senators, so that the MCAs who will graduate to come to this house can know how you debate this kind of motion. You don't debate it in the same manner that we debate the others. Mr. Speaker, the president said, and I want to laud him, that immediately he went into office, he quickly did certain things that were touching the will of running the nation. And Senator Sifuna is here, Catherine Muma is seated there, and our clerk Jeremiah is there, and the speaker is seated there, and on my left, I can see Cherargei is there, and Mungatana, eminent lawyers of the Republic of Kenya. They know the meaning of giving the judiciary a budget. The president actually gave the judiciary 3 billion shillings immediate, and as if it was not enough, he instantly appointed 6 judges, including my own cousin, Justice Egri Mujerure. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, these members are now confusing me. Mr. Speaker, this is the way to govern a nation. And these big things that he's doing, you cannot see the evidence today. It's going to take a bit of time when now you unlock the logjam of cases that are not being dealt with in the judiciary, because now judiciary will be having its own budget, judiciary will be having enough judges in the Court of Appeal and so on. This is the way we go so as Kenyans can access justice. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we laud the president for speaking to the attempt to reverse the cost of high living. I will not go into details. He talked about fertilizer cost. He talked about housing. And in housing, we all know how it is going to help in making sure that the cost of living goes down. Mr. Speaker, I'm a farmer. I do sugarcane farming, and I do dairy farming, and I do maize farming. For a long time, I have been doing 18 bags of maize per acre. But because fertilizer was cheaper, I was encouraged. I used to avoid buying because I was making a net loss. But because it was only 2,500, Mr. Speaker, I was encouraged, and I'm glad that for the first time, I harvested, Senator of Siaya, 27 bucks per acre. A huge difference. I can imagine if I was having a big farm, I would have actually taken my children, I would have paid the school fees at the university for my sons and daughters who are there out of that. This is what we want to do for our economy. Speaking on the same maize, you go to Kitale, you go to Bungoma, you go to Lugari, you go to Trans Nzoia, you go to Washinigishu, it is a bittersweet. It is bittersweet. You know what has happened? Because we have produced more, again, the law of supply and demand has set in. So a bag of maize, 90 kilograms, which we were buying for 8,000 shillings, now the farmer had planted and had harvested thinking that he would make 8,000, 7,000, 6,000. It has dropped down to 3,600. So it is bittersweet. You, the guys who we feed, we are from the food basket. You are happy, you are getting cheap food. But us, we are not making money. So the principle of guaranteed minimum returns, we want to urge the president and his ministers and his cabinet to ensure that for every crop in this country, be it the maize farmer, the sugarcane farmer, coffee, what have you, a farmer must have a guaranteed minimum return that ensures that for every crop, they make a profit. Mr. Speaker, the president spoke on the issue of finance, and elaborately, he told us about the efforts he has taken to stabilize the situation. But the telling point, out of the 10 or so points he raised on matters of finance, there was only one point that touched me. He said that the infamous Eurobond that was borrowed by the handshake government and which has brought us a lot of problems. I can see Sifuna is starting to look like he has swallowed a live bee. It's a pity. You were not here at that time.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Unwarranted. Please, Senator Boni, proceed to withdraw that particular statement.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to withdraw my remark that Senator Sifuna is looking like he has swallowed a live bee. It is not true. You know when you have a live bee in the stomach, Mr. Speaker, you cannot look happy in the face. I withdraw and apologize to Senator Sifuna. But Senator Sifuna is my joking friend, so we always joke together.
Senator Boni, if you're done, kindly take
No,
a seat.
No, Mr. Speaker, let me complete the President's speech. I would be failing on my duties if I did not say that because
What is your point of order, Senator Funakuru?
My good friend, Boni Halwale, if I didn't know you more, I would have said you've taken that changa from the Kakamega. But I think now I'm on the other side saying,
Senator Funakuru,
can we take...
what is the standing order that you're anchoring your point of order?
So can you take this matter very seriously, very, very seriously, because I think what we are talking about is very, very serious. That's what I can only say for now.
Order, Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, correct me if I'm wrong, but there has been a previous ruling of the chair that in fact there has never existed in the history of our republic a government called or known as the handshake government. In fact, we had a government formed by a party called Jubilee, in which the president was Uhuru Kenyatta and the deputy of the republic, or the deputy president of the republic was William Ruto. The Hansard will bear me witness, Mr. Speaker, that we have had this previous engagement, and the chair has directed that, in fact, there is no entity in the history of this country called the handshake government, and I would object strongly to those references to such government by Senator Halwale in his submissions.
Senator Boni, you know, the previous government was formed by a political party called Jubilee, which did 2 terms. I do understand that in the second term, the Jubilee government had a handshake with the party leader of ODM, but that does not qualify that particular government to be called a handshake government. The responsibility of whatever happened lied squarely with the Jubilee government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided. It's quite true. What you have guided me on is also true that Senator Sifuna is right. You know, Mr. Speaker, sometimes the mind can play games on you. When you see an imagery of the then Deputy President running away from the Jubilee government, and as he goes out, you see another man running in. Then the one who was running doesn't come out, he stays there for so long that, Mr. Speaker, the act of running into that burning house, he ended up being burned there until his ambition of becoming president went up in ashes. So I apologize to the Senator of Nairobi, and my sister, your point of order, which obviously was under 105, Senator of Nakuru, you mean well that I'm associated with Chang'a, which is true. And you are associated with the Keroshe things, which is also true.
Senator Boni,
yes.
You know, you've taken so much time. And any person seated listening to you to move this motion is wondering exactly what you're doing. Can you get down to it?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what is weighing me down are points of the order. But if there were no points of order, I would just be articulating point and E. But now points of order, I have to deal with them. Mr. Speaker, I was making my final submission on the issue of the most important statement that the President made. It was about Eurobond, $2 billion. And Mr. Speaker, this country has been living with the sword of Dumakog over our heads because we were going to be declared uncredit-worthy. But thanks to the hard work of the President, he has confirmed that next month we are going to pay off in advance $300 million, and that we are not going to default until the entire 2 billion shillings is settled. With those remarks, I allowed the President, and I wish to invite the distinguished senator from Tana River to come and second me. And Senator of Tana River, as you second me, today there was a report of a hero, of a teenage girl in Tana River who crossed the river to go across to go and deliver pregnant woman. Mr. Speaker, sir, protect me. When you go back, I have her 20,000 for shopping if you manage to know her. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bwana Spika, ningependa kuchukua nafasi hii kukushukuru kwa kupewa muda huu kutoa maoni yangu na kuunga mkono hoja ya mswada ambao uko mbele yetu kuhusu hotuba ya rais ambayo alitoa kwa mabunge yote mawili. Bwana Spika, mimi ningependa kusema mambo machache katika kuunga mkono hoja hii. Ya kwanza ni kwamba rais aliongea kuhusu hali ngumu ya maisha ya wananchi hapa Kenya. Na alisema kwamba gharama ya maisha imepanda, lakini yako na mpango. Na mpangilio alioelezea pale kwa wananchi ni kwamba hali ngumu ya maisha kwa serikali kung'ang'ana nayo ni kupunguza gharama ya chakula. Na kama alivyoendelea kusema mheshimiwa mwenzangu aliyetoka hapa Khalwale, ni kwamba serikali ilipunguza gharama ya pembejeo kutoka 7,000 kwa kilo mpaka ikafika 200,000 na 500 kwa begi moja ya pembejeo. Bwana Spika, wananchi wanajua na wale wanaonisikiza ya kwamba chakula tukikikuza kwa wingi ndio tutapata nafasi ya kupunguza ile bei. Na ukweli ni kwamba Mwenyezi Mungu alikuwa pamoja na sisi wakati bei ya pembejeo iliposhuka, mvua zilikuja, na zilipokuja chakula kimepatikana kwa wingi. Na hata sasa wale ambao wanajua mambo ya ukulima, wakati wa mvua hii ndefu kidogo, watu pia bado wanapanda na tunategemea kuvuna tena chakula kingi. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru Rais kwa mipangilio yake ya kusaidia mkulima wa kawaida ili chakula kiwe kingi na bei ishuke chini. Bwana Spika, sisi kule kwetu Tana River hatusemi tu kwa yale ambayo yameahidiwa, tunasema kwa yale ambayo tumeyaona. Bwana Spika, Rais katika kampeni zake wakati alikuwa anatafuta kiti, tulipokuwa tunatembea kule, alisema mimi nikiingia nitahakikisha zile project zenu kubwa kubwa ambazo zinahusika na uzalishaji wa chakula nitazifufua, na hizo zitatusaidia kama Kenya. Na alisema tunataka hili bara la Tana River tuligeuze liwe mahali pa kutoa chakula pa kutegemewa zaidi hapa Kenya. Na Bwana Spika, sisi kule kwetu hatusemi kwamba ni ahadi, tumeziona, kwa sababu katika ile Tana Athi River Development Authority na ile project ya TDIP, Tana Delta Irrigation Project, ambayo tuko nayo, Rais amekamilisha ahadi yake na alianza kwa kupatiana milioni 450, na tukaanza kitu kizungu wanaita pilot project. Na hiyo pilot project, Bwana Speaker, ekari 500 zimepandwa mchele. Na huo mchele sahihi, Bwana Speaker, ukipita pale sehemu za Gamba, Sera, ukiwa unaenda hewani hiyo barabara, unaona mchele mahali ambapo ilikuwa ni bara hakuna kitu. Unaona wananchi wanalima, wanashughulika. Hizo ekari 500 peke yake, Bwana Speaker, zimeanza kutembeza pesa sehemu hiyo kwa wingi. Wananchi wanashukuru, Bwana Speaker. Na sisi tumeyaona, sio ahadi, sisi tumeyaona. Tena Bwana Speaker, kupitia kwa waziri wake na katibu wa kudumu, project hiyo wanakuja mara kwa mara kuiangalia ili wananchi waone kwamba serikali imejitolea. Na Bwana Speaker, sababu ya kufufua ukuzaji wa mchele ni kwamba Kenya kwa sasa inatumia bilioni 540 kuleta chakula hapa Kenya. Na ukweli ni kwamba pesa kubwa ambayo inatumika hapo ni kuleta kizungu wanaita mafuta ya kupikia ama edible oil. Alafu inafuatizia na mchele. Wakenya huwa tunalipa bilioni 60 kuleta mchele kutoka Pakistan na nchi zingine, kwa sababu hatutoi mchele wa kutosha. Sasa katika ile mipangilio, upande wetu, kaunti yetu ama jimbo letu gatuzi la Tana River, katika mipangilio ya rais ni kwamba sisi tutasaidia kupunguza ile bill ya bilioni 60 za Kenya ambazo tunazitumia kununua mchele kutoka Pakistan. Mchele huu ukuzwe katika jimbo gatuzi letu la Tana River. Na katika mipangilio hiyo, Bwana Spika, rais alienda tena kuweka pesa katika Bura Irrigation Scheme ambayo iko hapo kwetu. Na Bwana Spika, Bura Irrigation Scheme kwa sasa iko na ekari 5,000 ambazo zinalimwa kwa chakula. Lakini Bwana Spika, tuko na shida ya kwamba maji hayatoshi. Na ni kwa sababu gani? Ni kwa sababu ile scheme wanatumia diesel, mafuta ya diesel kupiga maji yaingie mashambani. Na bill ya hiyo maji peke yake, Bwana Spika, inakuja milioni 10 kwa kila mwezi. Na Bwana Spika, ukiangalia hesabu hiyo ni milioni 120 kwa kila mwaka kuhakikisha kwamba maji yanatembea. Rais wetu aliahidi wakati wa kampeni kwamba ule mradi wa kutumia gravity, ya kwamba maji yatakuwa yakiteremka kwa nguvu za kawaida, ataufufua. Na alikuja mpaka Bura, Bwana Spika, sehemu ya Nanigi, na akafungua yale maji, Bwana Spika. Na yale maji sasa yanashuka bila kutumia nguvu za diesel. Na ekari ambazo zimetengenezwa sasa, tunataka kutoka 5,000 zifike 15,000. Na target yetu ni kwamba zitafika 25,000 za mchele. Na kule chini, kule kwa Tarda, tunataka kufikisha 30,000 za ekari za mchele. Target ni kwamba Tana River County, ile bill ambayo tunatumia kama Kenya kuleta mchele kutoka nje, shilingi bilioni 60 itapunguzwa, na Tana River itakuwa eneo la kutegemea la kutoa mchele katika Kenya hii yetu. Na tayari, Bwana Spika, tunaona mabadiliko. Vijana wameanza kwenda. Tumeona pia watu wengine kutoka sehemu zingine ambao wanajua faida ya ukulima wa mchele wameanza kuingia katika jimbo letu gatuzi, na tunawakaribisha wote kwa sababu kuna nafasi karibu 30,000 za kazi ambazo zinatokea na zinaendelea kukuzika katika sehemu yetu. Kwa hivyo sisi tuliposikia rais akiwa anaongea mipango hii ya kupunguza hali ya maisha na bei ya chakula, sisi tunajua ya kwamba ni kweli. Na Bwana Spika, mimi sisemi theory. Watu wetu wanajua ya kwamba wakati lile tingatinga la Tarda linapita, wanavuna alafu wanawacha chakula. Wanasema wananchi ambao wanaweza waende kuchukua, manake wanachukua ile raundi ya kwanza na raundi ya pili, lakini bado kuna chakula kinabaki. Watu wanaenda wanaweka magunia mengi ya mchele. Na Bwana Spika, wakati ule ile skimu ilikuwa inafanya kazi miaka iliyopita, kulikuwa hakuna njaa kule. Sasa Bwana Spika, tunatarajia maisha hayo kurudi, kwamba kutakuwa chakula cha kutosha. Kwa hivyo sisi tukiwa tunaongea, hatuongei maneno peke yake, tunaongea ukweli ambao tumeuona katika jimbo letu gatuzi la Tana River. Na pengine kuongezea ni kwamba sisi jambo ambalo tungependa liongelewe zaidi ni kuongeza miungo misingi. Tunataka kuona barabara zingine ambazo zinakatwa katika hii area yetu vile vile ilivyoahidiwa kitambo katika wakati wa kampeni. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, hali ya maisha ambayo tunayaongelea, kuipunguza ni kuongeza chakula. Na wananchi wanajua chakula kikiongezeka, bei zitashuka na maisha yetu yataenda kuwa mazuri zaidi. Bwana Spika, kuna jambo ambalo limeongelewa, nataka kulirejelea kidogo. Ni kwamba Kenya tulienda kuomba pesa, na hatukuomba pesa kwa IMF peke yake, kwa Africa Development Bank ama World Bank. Tulienda kwa commercial market mahali ambapo watu wanachukua madeni kama mtu yoyote wa kawaida, na tulichukua dola bilioni 2. Bwana Spika, kila mtu alikuwa na wasiwasi ya kwamba Kenya haitalipa hiyo pesa. Na Kenya isipolipa hiyo pesa, basi ile heshima na mambo mengi yetu yangeharibika. Bwana Spika, Ghana walienda kwa hiyo commercial market na walishindwa kulipa, inchi ikakuwa declared bankrupt. Sasa watu walikuwa wanaangalia Kenya watafanya namna gani. Na hizo bilioni dola 2 manake ni bilioni 303 za Kenya. Bwana Spika, rais wetu amesema milioni dola 300 zitalipwa Disemba, na pesa tuko nayo tayari. Kama watu wanasema kwamba hatusimamii uchumi vizuri, je, inawezekana mtu ambaye ako na madeni na ameambiwa deni lako utalipa mwezi wa 6 mwaka ujao, anaanza kulipa mwezi huu kabla miezi 6 kabla kulipa hiyo deni? Bwana Spika, ni sawa tufanye siasa, lakini pia tuseme ukweli ya kwamba tumeanza kusimamia uchumi wetu vizuri. Na hizo dola milioni 300 ni sawasawa na bilioni 45.4 za Kenya. Na hii pesa iko tayari na tuko tayari kulipa. Na Wakenya wajue ya kwamba mipangilio yetu ya kiuchumi inaenda vizuri. Mwaka huu, wakati huu Oktoba, mwaka jana, ilikuwa inflation rate yetu ni 8.9, 8.9. Oktoba mwaka huu inflation rate ya Kenya ni 6.9. Hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba tumeshukisha. Sasa siasa tufanye, lakini ukweli pia tuseme. Angalia Bwana Spika, Oktoba hii figures za Central Bank zinasema tumeweza kupata ushuru wa bilioni 170, 170 billion, ambayo imeongezeka 19.4% ukiunganisha mwaka uliopita na mwaka huu wakati huu wa Oktoba. Bwana Spika, nasemaje? Nasema mgala muue lakini haki yake mpe. Raisi anafanya kazi. Raisi anaangalia huu uchumi. Raisi anapanga mambo yetu. Na ni kweli tuko na shida, lakini tunasema namna hii, ikiwa wewe umeanzisha biashara leo ya tuktuk, ukiwa unaanza ile biashara ni kujifunga mkanda, kwa sababu kabla matunda yatoke kuna kule kuumia. Ikiwa wewe unafanya kazi ya shambani na umeweka mbegu, kuna kupalilia, kuna kulinda ndege wasiharibu, kuna kulinda wanyama wasiharibu, ile muda wa kujifunga uko, lakini matunda yatakuja baadaye. Kwa hivyo Wakenya wenzangu ambao wananisikiza sahihi, mimi naomba, kuna siasa na kuna ule ukweli. Ni kweli hali ni ngumu na hakuna mtu anakataa, lakini mipangilio ambayo ipo kwa rais huyu, na mimi nimemwaminia huyu rais, akija kwetu tumeona tofauti, na ninajua katika eneo za magatuzi mengine matofauti yanafanyika. Mwaka jana sio mwaka huu, na mambo yataenda vizuri. Mimi nawahakikishia, wakati mipangilio ya housing development itaanza kufanya kazi, wakati mipangilio ya universal healthcare itafanya kazi, wananchi wenyewe wataona ya kwamba rais huyu alikuwa anatupeleka vizuri, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo, kwa hayo mengi, naomba kuunga mkono hoja hii ya hotuba ya rais. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Honorable Senators, I now proceed to propose the question. Which is that pursuant to Standing Order 25-1, the thanks of the Senate be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the address of His Excellency the President, delivered on Thursday, 9th of November 2023, and further that the Senate notes the following report submitted by His Excellency the President in fulfillment of Articles 132(1)(c) and 247 of the Constitution, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 14th November 2023. 1. The 10th State of the Nation address by His Excellency the President, delivered at a joint sitting of Parliament on Thursday, 9th of November 2023. 2. The 10th Annual Report 2022-2023 on the measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of the national values and principles of governance. And 3. The Annual Report to Parliament on the state of the national security, dated November 2023. Now, Honorable Senators, you may now make your contribution to this motion. Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think by now, because you've presided over this House for over a year, you are aware of the character of most of us in this House. Mr. Speaker, in your communication about the President's address, you reminded this House of the requirement of the standing orders that in an address to the House, the head of state shall be heard in silence. Now, Mr. Speaker, knowing myself and knowing the President, Mr. Speaker, I chose not to attend the President's address to the National Assembly because I knew for a fact that at the first instance where I felt he was giving misleading information to the country, I would not be able to manage myself to keep quiet. I would have been strongly pushed to say something. And Mr. Speaker, I would have run afoul of the rules of this House. And although the Speaker of the Senate might be lenient because they know me, I was not very sure about the Speaker of the National Assembly, whether he would extend some of the courtesies that you have extended us in this House. Mr. Speaker, I suspected that if I went for that speech, I probably would be serving now an expulsion from the House for a minimum of 6 months. And I will go into the reasons why, Mr. Speaker, I did not trust the head of state to paint the true picture of the state of the nation. In my mind, Mr. Speaker, the state of the nation is the state of the people. Senator Mungatana has spoken very eloquently here about the state of the creditors of this country, that the creditors who gave us money during Eurobond are happy they are going to be receiving their payment. He should be asking himself, how many Kenyans are still able to service their own debts? That is the state of the nation that I would want to address. Mr. Speaker, so what I did, I joined a group of friends, and you will indulge me here, in playing a drinking game. Mr. Speaker, the rules of the game are very simple. Every single time you thought that a statement that was untrue, or even partially untrue, from the head of state, you had to take a shot of whiskey. Mr. Speaker, needless to say, by the end of the President's speech, we were extremely inebriated because of the half-truths and open lies that we believe the President told before the House of Parliament. And I will get into the specifics. Mr. Speaker, my expectation has always been that during a State of the Nation address, because the Constitution requires it.
What is your point of order, Senator Mungatana?
I know the Honorable Sifuna could be very passionate, but is the use of the word open lies, referring to the speech by His Excellency the President, parliamentary? And if not, can he withdraw and restrict to parliamentary language, Mr. Speaker?
Senator Sifuna, I think the use, you can still express yourself without necessarily using such words that may not be parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker.
And I know exactly, you understand exactly what I'm saying.
Mr. Speaker, replace every time I've used the word open lies with untruths or misleading or what other synonym is there? Yeah, I think I do not mean...
Not factual.
Or non-factual, yes, Mr. Speaker, and I will demonstrate point by point what I thought was not factual or was misleading. Mr. Speaker, my expectation with these speeches, ever since I became acquainted with the Constitution, is that you must address yourself to the steps taken, very specific, steps taken and progress achieved in realizing the values under Article 10. And I was specifically looking out for the address to address 3 values set out under Article 10. The first one, Mr. Speaker, is national unity and inclusiveness, which I will take together. Mr. Speaker, we live in an era where we are being told every single day that in fact, if you did not vote for this government, you have no shares in this government, and that you should expect nothing at all. What I expected the head of state to do is to tell us that ever since those pronouncements have been made, I have taken certain steps to rein in members of my administration who might not understand what Article 10 speaks about when it speaks of inclusivity and national unity, and that we give an undertaking, or he gives an undertaking, that we will not hear about that issue of shareholding anymore. Mr. Speaker, the first untruth that I want to invite this House to agree with me that I encountered is in paragraph 9 of the President's speech, where he acknowledges that it is the duty of all of us as leaders to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes. Now, that is where I took my first shot, Mr. Speaker, because I know for a fact that Kenyans have spoken over many, many policies that this administration has put in place, including the taxation measures that have been imposed through the Finance Bill of 2023, but this government has chosen to ignore the people's pleas and in fact to do the exact opposite of what the people have been asking it to do. Mr. Speaker, the other value that I wanted him to speak to is the question of the steps taken by his government and the progress that has been achieved in strengthening democracy. Now, here I went for a double shot, Mr. Speaker, and I will explain why. The first reason, Mr. Speaker, and Honorable Khalwale has spoken very eloquently about what their generation did in order for them to achieve the freedoms that we enjoy during this time, Mr. Speaker, including the freedom of speech. And I suspect, Khalwale, even the freedom of demonstration and the right to picket. I saw myself, leaders of the church, being bludgeoned here. As a child, I saw those pictures of Reverend Joya in the streets here being bludgeoned by police officers just because he was exercising his right to protest. This same regime, this same government, Mr. Speaker, is doing the very same things. In fact, this year alone, it has bludgeoned more people than Moi bludgeoned during the time for multi-party democracy. As a leader of the opposition, I know that I have a right under Article 35, a right that Boni and his generation fought very strongly for me to be able to express my disaffection with the policy of government by protesting, by picketing. Now, I don't know how I can define picketing for my brother, Honorable Khalwale, but picketing includes putting a sufuria on your head. That sufuria on my head is not the solution I'm proffering, because I had proffered a solution that at the moment, because Kenyans are going through a difficult time, Mr. Speaker, please retain the subsidies. Please do not increase the taxation on fuel. Those are the proposals that came from my mouth, Mr. Speaker. So that when you see me putting a sufuria on my head, that is not the solution. That is me picketing and drawing your attention to the solutions I'm proffering. But you have refused to listen to the people of Kenya. And yet the president would come and stand before the hallowed House of Parliament and say that he acknowledges that as a leader, he has a responsibility to listen to the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, contrary to what many people believe, I actually admire Senator Khalwale, because I have studied his history. You are some of the people who have inspired some of us to come to this house. We know your skills as a debater. But Mr. Khalwale, Senator Khalwale, sometimes I understand your position as a whip in this house of the majority. You are handicapped. Some things you don't want to say openly here on the floor or even in public gatherings. Senator Khalwale, those confessions you've made here, that in fact in your stellar career as a politician, you have never been as unpopular as you are right now. And it is not because of your undoing. I honestly believe Khalwale has not changed. The only thing that has changed, Senator Khalwale, is that you are defending the indefensible. The people of Malinya, I can confirm, they still love their senator. But they don't agree with the policies of the government that you support. And I wish, Mr. Speaker, the same admissions that have been made by Senator Khalwale on this floor would come from the mouth of a president. That he acknowledges that, in fact, some of the policies that he has put in place have made his government unpopular because they do not resonate with what Kenyans want to do. Mr. Speaker, let me now come to what I consider untruths, misleading statements about the state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, the President spoke about many things, and these matters have been fact-checked by many people, including reputable media houses here, on if indeed what he was saying is true. Let me start by the easiest, because, Mr. Speaker, outside there, I'm known as the permanent representative of the people of Kenya on matters of unga. And it is because, as a lawyer, I think I am an authority on food. Mr. Speaker, the President said in his own speech that a packet of flour, maize meal, is now retailing between 145 and 175. And he added a very clever rider, depending on the brand, down from 250. Mr. Speaker, I want to submit to this House that that statement is in fact not true. I have conducted my own research in supermarkets here in Nairobi. The average price of unga is still 200 shillings for a packet of 2 kgs. And this is something, because we host you here in Nairobi, you are welcome to do. Mr. Speaker, in previous arguments, I have tried to convince this Senate that, in fact, the definition of food security includes a reference to people's preferences. If, for instance, my household has been eating jogo unga, and I was buying it at 100 shillings, and it goes to 250, you cannot then try to convince me to start buying another brand that I have never heard of, that I don't know where it comes from, that now buy this one because it is 150. The preferences of people have to be included in food security. You cannot therefore tell us that depending on the brand you want, you can buy unga at 100. I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, any single thing in this country is contraband, including some of the liquor that we undertook or took during the President's speech in that famous game I've been referring to. There's an industry that has sprung up called Kariobangi, light industries. We cannot vouch for the authenticity of everything, but Kenyans can expect quality from certain brands, and that's what they go for. Mr. Speaker, we were told about the question of subsidizing the price of fertilizer. Now, it is public record that, in fact, some of this subsidized fertilizer came to this country as a donation from the government of Russia. And this is something that the government of Russia confirmed to us publicly. If you receive something for free, you cannot tell us you have reduced its price. It's that simple. You got it for free. You cannot tell me you have reduced its price. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is another obvious untruth by the head of state on the question of fertilizer.
Honorable Senator is misleading this House. He is talking about free fertilizers. Can he provide evidence, table this evidence before this House?
Senator for Nairobi, can you substantiate your claim? And if you cannot, you proceed to withdraw it.
Mr. Speaker, I will request for time to table evidence from the speeches from the leadership of the Federal Republic of Russia that they, in fact, gave a donation of fertilizer.
So when do you intend
So give me time. You can give me until tomorrow. I will table tomorrow. It. Absolutely, Mr. Speaker. Let me proceed to something else that I consider.
What is the point of order, Senator Boni?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I wish not to offend you, but because we have been engaged on wild goose chase in this House before in terms of substantiation, caution them that he should not come here with newspaper reports. He should come here with evidence, authenticated extracts of speeches of the leadership of Russia, which we know.
Senator Boni, you cannot teach the chair on what to communicate. I know exactly what amounts to a substantiation, and whatever the senator will bring must, of course, meet that standard. If it won't, the chair will rule. Proceed, Senator Sifo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is another half-truth, Mr. Speaker, that was spoken on the floor of the House, that in fact 56,000 new teachers had been employed this year alone. Now, the problem there is that on the face of it, it appears like the head of state knows what he's talking about. But data from the TSC itself indicates that up to 80% of that 56,000 teachers were hired on short-term contracts, Mr. Speaker. And only 20% of those are permanently employed. That is something you need to say to the state, to the nation, so that we know the true state of affairs when it comes to the hiring of our teachers. Mr. Speaker, let me continue. He also announced that in September, or that in June of this year, his administration would employ 103 community health promoters. And we saw him flagging off distribution of 100,000 kits to be used by those people. Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is that that is not true. That is not true. In fact, counties are supposed to identify the people to be recruited as CHPs, and that progress is ongoing. So you cannot claim something has happened, yet it has not happened, just to massage the numbers and appear like your government is working. Next, Mr. Speaker, he told us, I am on the speech. These are contents of the president's speech. I'm not
what
making
is your
up
point
anything.
of order?
Thank you, Speaker. I hate to interrupt the Senator for Nairobi. The 100,000 community health promoters were launched on Mashujaa Day.
Are you on a point of information
Yes.
or a point of
Is
order?
it in order, Mr. Speaker, to mislead the House without giving us evidence to support his claim that we did not recruit 100,000 community health promoters? We did.
Mr.
Senator
Speaker,
Sifuna, is your assertion factual?
Mr. Speaker, I represent a county.
If indeed,
I represent a county.
Senator Sifuna, if it's factual, let it form part of those factual claims that you
Please, I will substantiate whatever is required for me to substantiate, because, Mr. Speaker, the truth is the only weapon we have against the lies that are there in the world. Mr. Speaker, let me go to the question of recruitment of healthcare workers. Told us 20,000 healthcare workers have been employed. This one is also not true. In fact, the reports we have are that only about 1,200 interns were deployed to hospitals since the beginning of the year, not the 3,394 that the president spoke about. Let me conclude, Mr. Speaker, on the question of Wi-Fi hotspots. And this one, if you want me to substantiate, I will take you to the hotspot. We were told that he has set up Wi-Fi hotspots across the country, including here in Nairobi County, in markets such as Muthurwa and city markets. This one, I will just invite you to carry your devices to city market. It is walking distance here, Mr. Speaker. And you will see that, in fact, those things do not work. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the famous one of Hustler Fund.
Senator Sifuna, are you saying it wasn't, it's not working, or it wasn't provided?
Mr. Speaker, I have told this House on previous occasion that, in fact, I was there. I have 20 minutes. Mr. Speaker, I was present with the CS for ICT at City Market on the day of the launch. Weeks later, I was being called by traders there that that thing no longer works, and that is the current situation today. Mr. Speaker, let me finish with the question of the Hustler Fund. First, people need to understand one thing, that what Mama Mboga needs is the purchasing power of their customers to grow or to be retained at the level at which it was. It is pointless for you to give Mama Mboga a loan to expand, quote unquote, their business, and yet you are raiding the pockets of our customers in a way that it is impossible for them to spend money at Mama Mboga's stall. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the CBK data shows that the default rate of the loans borrowed under this Hustler Fund is higher than the ones of commercial banks. Mr. Speaker, of the 10.2 billion shillings that is outstanding.
What is your point of order, Senator Veronica?
The Senator for Nairobi, Senator Sifuna, in order to indicate that the default rate is as he's reading. Should he not issue substantiated reports, Mr. Speaker, These are based on facts, and we are allowing too many things to pass, Mr. Speaker, without demanding for accuracy of the information that is being given to this House. Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Nairobi would need to substantiate that fact on the Hustler Fund and the loan repayment and the default rate, and also substantiate the fact that the Wi-Fis are not working, Mr. Speaker, sir. And to substantiate on the Wi-Fi, he will need a technical report to actually show, to actually express that these Wi-Fis are not working. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that those Wi-Fis are working, even the one in Nairobi. And if it is not so, then let him bring a substantiation report based on fact, technical, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna, on the Wi-Fi, you may not be able to substantiate right away.
Mr.
Are
Speaker,
you able to substantiate on the default on the loan repayment?
Mr. Speaker, you can give me some credit as the person who represents the traders at these markets. I am in constant communication with these people. We are not talking about Wi-Fi in Kiambu. We are talking about Wi-Fi in Nairobi, the people I represent.
Very well.
If you want to substantiate whether Wi-Fi is working, you go there and try it.
Senator Sifuna,
you go there and try it.
Senator Sifuna, there is a point of order that has been raised.
The second one,
and
Mr.
I'm
Speaker.
proceeding to
Yes.
make a ruling on it.
The second one.
One, this is my ruling on the point of order raised by Senator Veronica. Just take a seat. One, you've been called upon to substantiate on the issue of Wi-Fi. That you cannot do right away because certainly you need a technical report. So again, you will bring that substantiation tomorrow as you substantiate on the earlier point of order. Then there is some facts you need to substantiate the issue of default on repayment of the loans from the hustler vis-a-vis the commercial loans. Are you able to substantiate right now? Proceed to substantiate.
Mr. Speaker, you know, we should not engage here in what we call kizungu mingi. This is a term of art we use here in Nairobi. That when people are unable to explain to the wananchi what they have done, they want reports, technical reports. What technical report does a trader in Muthurwa need to know that when he tries to log in, the thing is not working? On the question, yes, on the question of the default rate, Mr. Speaker, these are the figures from the CBK. Mr. Speaker, can I be allowed to proceed? I am the most interrupted senator in this House. For heaven's sake.
Order, honorable senators. Allow the senator, you have raised a point of order, let the senator substantiate. Thereafter, you will rise on your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the question of the default rate is a question of math and your capacity to comprehend math. 10.2 billion shillings outstanding as loans, 3 billion out of that, Mr. Speaker, which is almost 30%, is listed as non-performing loans. Now, you don't need to be a genius to know what non-performing loans mean. Then you take that figure of 30%, Mr. Speaker, compare it with the figure of default in commercial banks. You will see which one has a higher default rate. And I will provide that evidence, in fact, tomorrow, of what the current default rate for commercial loans are vis-a-vis the default rate.
That's exactly what
Senator that is very simple for me to do, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude.
What is your point of order, Senator Kenya?
Mr. Speaker, the Senator of Nairobi cannot assume or pretend, Mr. Speaker, he monopolizes Muthurwa market. The President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, represent those people. They voted for him the way they voted for him. So he cannot pretend by saying, every time he's standing here to speak, Mr. Speaker, to say I represent those people. They call me every day. They call the President as well. They call us as well, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order?
The point of order, Mr. Speaker, is 105, Mr. Speaker. He's misleading this House.
Senator Sifuna, in reference to the people of Nairobi, you have to know that the people of Nairobi voted for 6 leaders. All those 6 leaders represent the people of Nairobi, including His Excellency the President. Kindly proceed.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. It is also important for you to note that of the 6 people who were elected in Nairobi, I received the highest votes of those 6 people, including more votes than the President in Nairobi. So I speak for more people than him. Mr. Speaker, let me finalize by saying, unfortunately for me, I don't get the privilege of putting, televising my telephone conversations with the traders in Muthurwa and the traders in the other markets, Mr. Speaker, like the President was pretending to do. But the truth of the matter is these people communicate with their leaders. Let me finalize, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna, you need to start using parliamentary language.
What's unparliamentary?
You know, when you say the president was pretending.
Mr. Speaker, that was obviously a staged call. Everybody can see in the video. It was a staged call, and we should call it for what it is.
Senator Sifuna, I'm guiding you. If you proceed in that manner, you know exactly what will befall you. Proceed.
Speaker, let me finalize by addressing the question of some of the reasons that the president gave for what tribulations Kenyans are going through. And Mr. Speaker, for the first time, the head of state acknowledged that events outside of Kenya have a bearing on the state of the nation. And he cited the Ukraine war. And Mr. Speaker, of late, we are hearing that in fact, the war in Gaza might even affect the prices of fuel. This is a radical departure from the position that the president took during the campaigns. He, in fact, dismissed any involvement or any role of outside events, including the war in Ukraine that began before the election, in the state of the nation. That he has chosen now to turn and
Senator. No, we took note of those objections. Senator Roba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the statement of the President. And as I rise to support, I would like to single out a few issues that I identified with as a leader. Issues to do with the effort the government is doing in turning around the economic performance of our economy. The issues raised with respect to support given to fish sector, maize sector, tea sector, coffee sector, rice sector, potato sector, cotton sector, milk sector, among others. However, Mr. Speaker, even though this is a statement of the President and a government statement, where I stand, the government stands, in the interpretation of the government in my head starts with the people I represent, that is the people of Northern Kenya. And as such, the entire region of the Asals, the people of Northern Kenya, were left out when you know very well that 3 consecutive years we've had devastating drought situation that has wiped out the livestock, you know, which is the mainstay of the economy of the population of Northern Kenya, literally completely affecting the livelihood of that region. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I support, I also need to identify a few issues that really did not identify very well with me and as a leader from the region. Mr. Speaker, while writing off of debt in billions have been discussed for various sectors, including the sugar industry and others, and which I support and applaud. But I am a bit concerned and extremely pained to get to find out that within the 14 months the government is in existence, the issue of devastating drought that wiped out the economy of that region has not been addressed, even to a minute extent. Mr. Speaker, sir, the President discussed the issue of Hustler Fund. It is a very noble undertaking that has largely impacted positively on the population of this region. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, the population I represent and other leaders represent are predominantly Muslims, and they shy away from getting access to any fund that attracts interest because of their faith. The Hustler Fund has not been appropriately adapted to address and so that an equal opportunity for the population of the entire country is availed for them to be able to take advantage of it. Mr. Speaker, sir, I applaud the efforts taken by the President in changing the entry requirements for the teachers training colleges in this country. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, Northern Kenya has really been faced by perennial mass exodus of teachers as a result of insecurity and susceptibility to terror shocks. And as a result of the action of the president, Mr. Speaker, I want to stand here to confirm that Mandera Teachers Training College was able to instantly recruit 644 students who joined Teachers Training College, meaning for the first time in 11 years of devolution, we see light at the end of the tunnel that the susceptibility to terror shocks by the teachers training, the teachers sector, the teaching sector in our schools is going to be addressed and put to rest in the next couple of years. Hopefully, that is not going to be affected by what's happening. Mr. Speaker, the speech was very elaborate. It has captured many sectors, and I stand to support. However, I also stand here to discuss on the issue of 60 years after independence. Counties like Mandera are still undergoing power rationing. And that has not been discussed for what this government is going to do or was planning to do in terms of addressing, whether it is by way of mini grids or connection to the national electricity grid, so that the privileges and opportunities enjoyed by the rest of the country is also availed to the region like Mandera and other areas that undergo power rationing. Mr. Speaker, from time to time it has been discussed by the former president, the current president, on the issue of industrialization. But there are enablers of industrialization that need to be facilitated by the government. Two of those enablers is the road infrastructure, connecting that region to the national road network. The other enabler is connection to the national electricity grid, so that the price of power is equal or closely matches the national average in this country. And Mr. Speaker, it's very sad that as we speak, Mandera County is undergoing power rationing 60 years after independence as it is, and equalization fund that was doubted to address that has not been implemented. Even the appropriated equalization fund of 2022-2023 has not been credited to equalization fund account as it is, and as such we continue suffering with that situation. Mr. Speaker, sir, just today on the platform, the information platform of Get 411, it was announced that CS Kindiki, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, announced as at today, what is reported, not unreported, 46 people have been lost to flash floods from the ongoing El Nino devastation that is ongoing. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we stand to listen to the President, and it's very unfortunate the President was misinformed, and he stood up to say that El Nino is no more, and I know the head of Meteorological Department has apologized for that misinformation. However, in the State of Nation address that is supposed to touch and create and give hope to population of this country, roads have been cut off in regions where we come from. And flooding has really affected hundreds of thousands of the population in our region as a whole. And the President's speech fell short of creating hope and discussing the impact that El Nino phenomenon is causing in our region. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support the entire speech as I share the gaps in the speech. And thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Crystal. Senator Sige.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I listened to the State of the Nation address. last week, and unfortunately I was left disappointed. I was left disappointed because apart from the issues raised by Senator Sifuna in his submission, there were many other issues that were also left either half spoken about or not at all. Mr. Speaker, the State of the Nation address I spoke with to a group of Kenyans across the weekend, and they described it as being similar to the moment you let visitors, or you invite visitors to come to your home to visit you. The family who is at home, your spouse, your kids, maybe the house manager, the askari, those who live in that compound and live in that house understand exactly where the dirty linen is. They know exactly every nook and cranny in that household. But when visitors come along, everything is hidden. Things are put under the carpet. Things are hidden behind shelves. You find the shoes inside the microwave. You find T-shirts thrown behind the headboard in the bedrooms. And that was what they described this address as being. The sovereign power, Mr. Speaker, knows what is happening within our borders. Kenyans know exactly what is happening. The embassies within our borders also know what's happening. But this speech seemed to be catered to those communities, the international communities outside of Kenya, who may not really understand the intricacies and the true picture of what Kenya is going through today. Mr. Speaker, I also want to reiterate what has been said here, which is a quote taken from this address. It says, "Our duty as leaders is to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes." Unfortunately, that has not been done. In fact, a lot of the people's wishes have been deliberately sidestepped and shelved and ignored just to make way for other interests and agendas to move forward, Mr. Speaker. He also continued to say that it puts ordinary Kenyans' security, well-being, and interests front and center in our discourse. And unfortunately, that, I feel, is also a mistruth that was posed in this address. He spoke about making progress amidst challenges and that Kenya cannot be derailed by challenges. However, when there are so many challenges to be addressed, how can then this State of the Nation speech not put them front and center, Mr. Speaker? He gave a lot of anecdotes, a lot of stories about Kenyans that he has been speaking to throughout the year, even more recently before this address. He talked to us about Alice, talked to us about Harrison, he talked to us about Moses. But Mr. Speaker, I also know an Alice. There is an Alice who is a mother to a child with neurodiverse disability in this country. And she complains that there is no support, no framework that is actually assisting and aiding her as a caregiver to her child with neurodiverse disability. I also know an Alice, and she was disappointed by this address. I also know a Harrison, Mr. Speaker. Harrison is a musician who has given his life and creativity to uplift this country and hold our flag high, not just within the country, but outside. And now Harrison, in his elderly age, is in Mombasa. He has acquired a disability and is not able to provide or fend for himself through his creative skill and talent of music. And he complained that this speech was extremely wanting because it made no mention of the creative economy and how the government has done nothing until today to support creatives in the way that they should be supported. I also know a Moses, Mr. Speaker, a Moses who decided that his only recourse was to leave Kenya and to look for work outside, and went to the Middle East to become a trader. He trades fruit and vegetables in the Middle East. And that was his only saving grace in trying to continue making a living and sending money back home. But unfortunately, he too was disappointed by this speech because no address was made about Kenyans' plights, the Kenyans in the diaspora, or any issues in that regard. People have told me that this bottom-up economic transformative agenda is true to its word, but in a way that maybe the government is not admitting to. It seems like money is being taken from the bottom and it's been moved up, and that is the only way that people in my communities and those that I've been speaking to see this BETA really looking like on the ground for them. Money is being moved from the bottom and taken up. Mr. Speaker, there was no mention, once again, about disability inclusion and mainstreaming. Last year, when the president opened Parliament, he made no mention of disability matters, nothing about inclusion, nothing about diversity at all. When he made appointments to different positions afterwards, after the address last year in opening Parliament, he gave no opportunities and none that fit the quota of 5% as per our constitution to persons with disabilities. And last week in this address, he again failed to address the needs of persons with disabilities, the shortcomings, the steps that he has taken through his government to caretake for this very vulnerable but extremely powerful minority group in the country. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you an example of today. Today I was in the street just out here outside of Parliament. I was walking with a group of street vendors with disabilities who have been thrown out of the CBD by the county government askaris. And they complain that they have been given no space to trade. They're small goods, selling sweets, selling sodas, selling water. And our own officials, officers in this county, have been harassing them, have been frustrating them, and have pushed them out of the CBD. Even though, according to our constitution, we absolutely have a right to be in these spaces and trading. Mr. Speaker, there were 100-odd people with disabilities who are vendors in this city. And they were complaining and brought a petition even to this House, and also to City Hall, and also to the County Assembly, trying to get an ear, an audience with the county government through Governor Sakaja, who has been, in their account, ignoring them because it's not the first time. They were there last week and they were tear-gassed. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, a group of earnest, hard-working people with disabilities who are just trying to make a living, trying to do the best that they can with the little that they have. Because, as I said before, we have to work twice as hard to get half as far in this country and in any space in this world as people with disabilities. And still, what do we get in return? We get the boot from our own government and our own county government and our own authorities, telling us that we do not have space or time or the right to be in the CBD and trade. That was not addressed. And these are some of the issues that I wish, and unfortunately, have been completely ignored by the president and the executive in this address. Mr. Speaker, there was another place that there was no mention of, Mr. Speaker, that I'm disappointed in. Electricity, the national outcry regarding KRA in the airport. Nothing regarding the 2/3 general rule. Government has addressed IT and digitization without gaps being filled regarding cybersecurity. None of those things were addressed. Absolutely, I want to, unfortunately and very painfully say that there are millions of Kenyans who are dissatisfied and disappointed in this address. Mr. Speaker, it was extremely short. They say that it's the shortest address that has ever been given. And I, at the beginning, wondered why. But as I continued to listen, as I continued thereafter to speak to people, real people, the way that the president says that he also spoke to real people, as I did my research, I also found that there are millions of people with disabilities, youth, women, and Kenyans across this country who are also disappointed. And that is the true state of the nation. I thank you.
Senator Abbas.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the position and allow me talking. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the speech of His Excellency the President. Actually, it was very commendable. It was well thought about and well spoken, short and precise. However, there has been a lot of concerns. When you go out there to the public, you can hear that the people of Kenyans were expecting that the President should have talked about, the immediate issues that really affected the life of the people of Kenya. I.e. that the fuel cost, the high taxations, the floods ongoing. As you're aware, half of this country now is actually marooned by water, especially in northern Kenya. People have now been all over. There's food scarcity now. Vehicles cannot be able to move. All the farms have been destroyed. Animals cannot even graze because everywhere it has been covered by water. And then I think we expected the President to say about the emergency issues, that interventions, that people are going to require support. You need to require, the Ministry of Transport to go there, and roads. At least they can open up the roads, but that has not happened. And also, one other thing that I want to commend the President is that, in the agriculture sector, I think that thing has put a lot of emphasis on the agriculture sector. The funds for the coffee, the tea, the self-fertilizers. But one other thing that has been left out, in the pastoral areas, about 15 million Kenyans depend on livestock. And actually, livestock economy actually not well improved since independence. In the past, they used to have livestock marketing systems. Animals have been sold on time. People used to pay their school fees. They used to depend on animals. But however, because of the current drought, many animals died and perished last time. But we expected at least a program to recover from the drought. That we expected that pastoralists or northern Kenyans expected them to be at least be told the way the farmers in the coffee farmers and the maize farmers have been given subsidies and given supported. We also expected that we should be able to get some subsidy, support, financial support, where people's livelihood can be regained. The people the farmers are given animals to restock and money for restocking, drugs, because as it is now, because of the floods now, we expect a lot of the animal disease to occur. Rift Valley fever might not, I think it might be there. Many other diseases, livestock diseases, and even human diseases that we expect, people to get a lot of issues, diseases to come up. And I think we need to have at least an immediate measures to intervene. One other thing I want to talk about is actually that the timely debt to the government, I think that is commendable. That I think the President and the leadership of the government is under the leadership of His Excellency the President is taking so much concern on unpaid debts and accrued debts and all these things. And now that in the speech that we have been told that the President is saying that he's at least paying the money, the country is paying the money owed by the various donors and the various creditors. I think it's a very good move. This country is actually dwelling with a lot of debts, and we need to reduce our debts so at least we can be able to start fresh and be able to improve our GDP and our economy. One other thing is actually I want to comment is that the savings, the hustler fund, and all these things is a very good move. However, this has not trickled down so much in the rural areas, especially in far-fetched areas in the northern Kenya, that we are not beneficiary of those things because of the religious aspect, and that these things involve some interest, and because of that, I think most of the people in northern Kenya are not benefiting out of this money. So I think we need to have a model that will be able to accommodate all Kenyans, so that at least we can be able to, all Kenyans can benefit. One other thing I want to say is that transformation of education. That actually is actually a wonderful thing, because as we talk now, because of the Al-Shabaab issue and these things, Kenyans, the northern Kenya people, especially in Wajir, Mandera, Garissa, and Marsabit, never used to have teachers for the last, I think, almost 5-7 years. All the teachers who have been recruited have run away. But of course, as a result of the intervention, now we are able to recruit teachers now, And you are hearing, as my colleague said from Mandera, the senator from Mandera, that the council have taken up the initiative to train their own teachers. And I think now there are almost 2,000 students who have already joined the training colleges and universities. So at least by the time in the next 5 years, these counties will be able to have enough teachers on their own. I think this is a good move. I think one other thing is that I want to comment is that the cluster issues that have been obstacle to the training of teachers has now been moved, and subject clusters are not there now. Anybody with C+ can now do a diploma, and they think this has given us a leeway for us to train our own teachers and enough teachers. I think that's a very commendable thing. One other thing is this is actually raising concern, the student-centered financial support. This is a very good actual move. However, this has not been well done because we need to do more study. We need to see how effective this will be, because I'm seeing there's a lot of concerns and complaints from the students who have joined university right now. They're all stranded and they cannot be able to pay their fees. Most of them are almost dropping out. I think we need to look to go back to the drawing table so that at least we can be able to know how best this thing can be, people can benefit, the student can benefit. As it is now, I think there's no clarity on the whole issue. One other thing is the universal health care. This is a wonderful move. I think the Afya Nyumbani is a very good move, whereby 100,000 community animal workers, community health promoters have been trained and actually deployed. However, we need to give them at least enough facilities. You know, some of the areas in the northern part is so much undeveloped. The roads are actually a problem. Like this time, you can hear, this morning I was seeing in the paper that where a mother who was in labor had to swim across a river to go and listen, to get support to deliver. And I think so that mother has taken risk with her child. And I think that should have been in the river, and I was really impressed. But however, we need to get at least enough facilities to promote and to facilitate these health workers. One other thing is we need the storage facility for those drugs should be provided. And all in all, Honorable Speaker, one other thing is actually that we need to address is actually this country needs to heal, this country needs to come together, this country needs to move forward. And I think that is an aspect that the President has not said much about it. And one other thing is actually the biggest challenge we have. If you go out today, this government is almost getting unpopular because of, the high cost of living. I think the President should have addressed and actually said at least how we want to handle this, the high cost of living. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute. Honorable Speaker, can Senator Cherargei and sit down? He always causes chaos when he comes to this house. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important issue. Senator Cherargei, who purports to love the President, should listen in when we are making our comments on this speech. It's very, very important. Honorable Speaker.
Senator Cherargei, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, 105 on responsibility of facts. Is it in order for Senator and temporary Speaker of the House to state that another senator can cause chaos in the House? Mr. Speaker, sir, can she use parliamentary? Is it in order for a temporary Speaker to call out a senior ranking member of the House by saying, Mr. Speaker, that I can cause chaos in the House? Is it in order? Could she use a better language, or she is excused from when she's on the seat and when she's speaking, Mr. Speaker? Can you rule out of order?
Senator Muma, can you use parliamentary word when referring to senior members of this House?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope the senior members, the ranking members, will not disrupt debate in the House. Honorable Speaker, the State of the Nation speech. Honorable Speaker, I hope my time is being saved.
Senator Kinyo, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing on standing order number 105, Mr. Speaker. I listened to Senator Muma saying that Senator Cherargei, who pretends to love the president, should sit in and listen. So I'm wondering, how does she know that she loves the president or not, Mr. Speaker? Should substantiate that, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, I didn't say pretends, I said purports. So I'm sure it is up to him to tell the House whether he loves the president or not. I would know, I have no way of telling that. Honorable Speaker, can I proceed? Honorable Speaker.
Order, Senator. The Senator will be heard in silence.
Honorable Speaker, the State of the Nation address is a constitutional requirement.
Senator Cherargei, what is your point of order? We need to leave Senator Muma to...
I hope you're saving my time, please.
Stop her time,
Mr.
please.
Speaker, you know the procedures of the House we must stick to. When the Speaker orders you to withdraw and apologize, the good senator has not, she has just continued making others say, I would have expected her to request that the word chaotic should be struck out from the answer. That is the fair process of...
Very well, Senator.
Yes, that is what I am requesting. It's not a very hard thing I'm requesting so that it does not reflect on the answer. Mr.
well.
Speaker, and for the purpose of record, I love the president more than Jesus Christ. So you don't need to get worried.
Honorable Speaker, I would want to withdraw the word chaos, causing chaos, and replace with the word disrupting the House.
Very well.
Which I did. Honorable Speaker, the State of the Nation address is a constitutional requirement on accountability by the presidency to the people of Kenya on how the government of the day is carrying out its responsibilities in relation to the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, particularly how the government is ensuring that the values and principles provided for in Article 10 are being taken care of. Mr. Speaker, in paragraphs 9 and 10 of the President's speech, he reiterates this responsibility. In Article 9, he said the transformation of our economy is not only desirable and important, but it is also necessary and an urgent. And the people of Kenya have made this clear at every opportunity. And he continued to say our duty as leaders is to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes. Mr. Speaker, how I wish that you would lead by example, by listening to what the people of Kenya are saying at this time. I would have hoped that the president, at the time he was reading the speech, would have listened to the cries of Kenyans about the cost of living in this country. Honorable Speaker, in Article 10, he made reference to the citizens' freedoms and fundamental rights. He did not speak to the whole stretch of it, but we know that the entire of Chapter 4 guarantees certain rights to the citizens of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, among these rights are the basic rights to ensure that people live in dignity. Mr. Speaker, the state of the nation is that many families are not able to make ends meet. The state of the nation is that many families are not able to educate their children anymore because levies have been put on since this government came in place that have made it difficult for many families to afford tertiary education, to afford secondary education, to afford primary education. Mr. Speaker, the state of the nation at the time we spoke is that we have rogue departments that have decided to levy taxes left, right, center that are making the poor poorer and stressing those who are doing business in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, to increase the charges on a birth certificate, on an identity card, on marriage certificate, on death certificate, on acquiring of a passport, on reclaiming citizenship for Kenyans who are born abroad, on Kenyans who are on goods of Kenyans who are coming in, including second-hand goods that people are coming in with from abroad. Mr. Speaker, that is where the state of the nation is. Kenyans are being taxed left, right, center, whether they are dead or alive, whether they are in the womb or in hospital. That is the state of the nation, Mr. Speaker. I would have loved to hear the president pronounce himself on this issue, particularly on why the Department of Immigration has decided to, without following due process, levy charges on fundamental rights. Mr. Speaker, access to the ID is a fundamental right. Paying 2,000 for an ID will make the difference as to whether a child will go to university or not. Our children are finishing Form 4. Many of them will need to acquire IDs. Many of them will require those IDs before they get help. What this government has done is to say that if you come from a poor family, forget about university education. Mr. Speaker, that is the state of this nation. Mr. Speaker, many businesses are closing. Many businesses are crossing over to Tanzania because they cannot afford the taxes in Kenya. That is the state of this nation. And I would hope that those close to the president, the friends, and others will allow him to actually get in touch with the people to understand what is going on in order for him to truly understand what the state of the nation is and do something about the impact of his taxation policies on this nation. Mr. Speaker,
Senator Cherargei, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I raise under Standing Order number 98, Standing Order 103, 105, in responsibility of statement of fact. You know, even if this is a debate about the presidential speech, it is very unfortunate, but the senator has stated that Kenyans who want to go to university should forget it, because she is alleging that on the issue of school payment in the universities. Yet she is fully aware that the university model or the university payment model is being reviewed. Is it in order to allege that the government is not allowing people to go to university simply because they do not have money? Yet Higher Education's loan board, like 2 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, sir, money was released for students who are ongoing in various universities. Is it in order as a responsibility? And number two, she has alleged that businesses are crossing to Tanzania. Does she have the facts to clarify our assertion, Mr. Speaker? Even if there is to substantiate, even if you are debating on the presidential speech, it does not mean that you use the floor of the House to mastering the government. I know it's the work of the opposition to do it, but they should do it constructively and with facts. Mr. Speaker, is she in order?
Senator Muma, on those two issues, are you able to substantiate on what you have said?
Mr. Speaker, please give me time. I will actually bring information that is actually should be within access of Senator Cherargei.
How much time do you need, Senator Muma?
Within this week, I will actually submit that. I'll be able to submit
On the issue
the
of
fees,
businesses,
yes,
moving
on
to
the
Tanzania
university, the
and the
fee
university.
structure are actually, and I'm calling on all Kenyans out there
Very well.
who
So
have
on
not been
Thursday-
able to attend, to bring that list because you want to trivialize this, so that we can give you the names of the many children who are not attending university because they don't have money. We will actually bring that list. And I'm asking Kenyans out there, please bring the names. I know some. I will bring that information if that is the way you want us to go. I thought it is common knowledge that fees have gone high in the universities, but I'll bring it if that is what you want me to do. Mr. Speaker, the issues I'm speaking to is not because I'm opposition. Unfortunately, even children of those who voted for the president are facing the same fate. Unfortunately, families of Kenyans across board, regardless of who they voted for, regardless of their gender, regardless of their tribe, are suffering the same fate of the high cost of living. Mr. Speaker, that is the state of the nation. And it is important that we tell the president the truth so that the president can pause and review and think through. Can we keep moving forward on the basis that this country should actually be driven by the rich as we leave the poor behind? Can we even afford that? This is a government that purportedly stands for the poor. It must be able to lift the poor. All I'm saying, I did not hear the president speak to these issues. I would have liked to see the president speak to these issues because, Mr. Speaker, that is the state of the nation. We are not in a good place. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza mwanzo nataka kusema ya kwamba naunga mkono mswada huu Bwana Spika ya hotuba ya Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Bwana Spika, na ijulikane wazi, Rais mwenyewe alisema kinaga ubaga. Yeye anajua ya kwamba maisha ni mangumu. Ndio, lakini kuna ile mikakati ambayo imewekwa kuangazia kwamba Wakenya hali yao ngumu ya maisha inazingatiwa Bwana Spika. Kwanza kabisa Bwana Spika, bei ya pembejeo Bwana Spika imepunguzwa kutoka shilingi 7,000 Bwana Spika mpaka shilingi 2,500. Bwana Spika, kisa na maana ya kufanya hivyo ndiposa bei ya chakula iweze kupungua. Bwana Spika, wakulima hivi sasa sehemu zile ambazo tunategemea sana kwa hali ya ukulima Bwana Spika, wamesema ya kwamba wameweza kupata mazao maradufu Bwana Spika. Na ni kweli Bwana Spika, ukiangalia sehemu nyingi unaona ya kwamba Mungu naye alitujalia kwa mvua Bwana Spika, na mazao yameendelea kuwa mazuri Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, jambo lingine ambalo nataka kumpa Rais kongole ni alipoteuliwa kama rais. Jambo la kwanza alifanya Bwana Spika ni kuteua majaji ambao walikuwa wamependekezwa na tume ya majaji Bwana Spika. Na hilo lilikuwa ni jambo zuri sana Bwana Spika. Na hakukomea hapo Bwana Spika. Aliendelea na askari polisi wetu ambao Bwana Spika hawakuwa wakijitegemea, walipewa hela zao wenyewe waweze kuwa wao ndio wanafanya mipango wao wenyewe Bwana Spika, bila kutumia vile ilikuwa hapo awali Bwana Spika, wakienda katika taasisi zingine za serikali Bwana Spika ndio waweze kupata hela zao. Hilo Bwana Spika ni sababu la kujivunia. Na Bwana Spika, sisi kutoka Laikipia Bwana Spika, ninaweza kusema peupe kimasomaso ya kwamba sisi tumeona hayo mambo yakileta amani na utulivu, kwa sababu sisi Laikipia usalama ulikuwa ni donda sugu Bwana Spika. Tulikuwa kila wakati tunavamiwa na hawa majangili na hawa wezi wa mifugo Bwana Spika. Lakini Bwana Spika, serikali imejitolea, na nataka kumpongeza rais kwa sababu alisema ya kwamba kuliongezwa wale polisi wa ziada Bwana Spika. Laikipia sasa inapoongea na yeye Bwana Spika, tuna zaidi ya askari wa hakiba zaidi ya askari 500 Bwana Spika. Na hilo ndilo jambo ambalo nasema ni sisi kwetu ni afueni Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nikiendelea kusema kwa sababu hata tukiwa na barabara nzuri namna gani Bwana Spika, hata tukiwa na hospitali nzuri namna gani Bwana Spika, lakini kukose usalama Bwana Spika, itakuwa ni kazi bure. Kwa hivyo nampongeza rais kwa mimi kama senator wa kutoka Laikipia kwa hilo jambo nzuri kwa mambo ya usalama, na akasema wazi ya kwamba hao wezi, wakora, majambazi wa mifugo watafuatanwa na wao Bwana Spika mpaka kuwe na utulivu ulioko. Na wale askari walioko huko, askari polisi, askari jeshi, askari uhakiba, hawatatoka Bwana Spika, wataendelea kuishi huko huko Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, jambo lingine ambalo napenda kupongeza ni ya kwamba tayari kulikuwa kumechukuliwa, nchi hii yetu ilikuwa imekopa pesa ambazo ndugu yangu Mungatana alisema Eurobond Bwana Spika. Na rais alisema vizuri kabla hata ya siku zake mwezi wa 6 mwaka ujao Bwana Spika, yeye amesema ya kwamba Disemba hii Bwana Spika, tayari serikali ya Jamhuri ya Kenya italipa dola milioni 300 Bwana Spika. Hilo ni jambo ambalo tunaona serikali inaendelea kuwa thabiti Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, hawezi ukalipa deni ikiwa wewe si thabiti Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, na ni vizuri kulipa madeni yako Bwana Spika ulionayo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tayari tulikuwa tumechukua zaidi ya dola bilioni 2 Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kwa rais alihakikisha wakati tulipokuwa tukizunguka Jamhuri ya Kenya tukiomba wananchi kura Bwana Spika, rais alisema ya kwamba atazingatia jambo linaitwa Hustlers Fund Bwana Spika. Na wakati huu tunapoongea na wewe Bwana Spika, zaidi kama mwezi jana Bwana Spika, zaidi ya bilioni 36.8 zilikuwa zimechukuliwa na wananchi wa Kenya Bwana Spika. Hawa ambao tunaita hustlers ama walala hoi Bwana Spika, tayari wakichukua hela hizi na zinasaidia katika shughuli zao za biashara Bwana Spika. Na vile vile wameweza kuweka akiba ya zaidi ya bilioni 2.3 Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi napongeza vile ambavyo rais alikuja kupatiana hotuba yake na kulenga mambo ambayo ameweza kufanya na mambo yale ambayo serikali inaendelea kufanya Bwana Spika. Hakukomea hapo Bwana Spika. Kwa mambo ya elimu Bwana Spika, serikali imeajiri zaidi ya walimu 50 na zaidi ya walimu 56,000 Bwana Spika. Na hilo ni jambo zuri Bwana Spika ambalo sisi na wanafunzi watajivunia, kwa sababu kumekuwa na shida katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na hakutoka tupate uhuru Bwana Spika, hakuna wakati walimu wameweza kuajiriwa wengi zaidi ya hiki kiwango Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo tuna kila sababu ya kumwambia rais anaendelea vizuri na analenga ndipo Bwana Spika, na endelee vivyo hivyo Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika hajawacha mambo, kwa sababu alisema tulipokuwa tukitembea Bwana Spika na tukiomba kura kwa wananchi ama wakati wa siasa Bwana Spika, shida iliyoko kubwa, na ndio ukweli, shida iliyoko kubwa katika Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya ni wa vijana wetu Bwana Spika kukosa ajira. Bwana Spika, rais ameleta mfumo wa kujenga nyumba ambazo watu wanaweza kununua Bwana Spika. Na hizi nyumba Bwana Spika zitaweza kusaidia wananchi wa vijana wetu Bwana Spika, kwa sababu vijana wetu ndio watakuwa wakitengeneza madirisha Bwana Spika katika sehemu za jua kali Bwana Spika. Vijana wetu ndio watakuwa wakitengeneza milango Bwana Spika. Vijana wetu ndio watapatikana pale wakifanya haya mambo, hata kama ni mambo ya kuweka hizi nyumba maji, kuweka stima Bwana Spika, na hiyo itaweza kupatia vijana wetu ajira. Kwa sababu vijana wetu wengi hawachagui Bwana Spika kazi, bora wapate pesa. Na hizi nyumba ambazo Bwana Spika zitatengenezwa katika kila sehemu ya nchi ya Kenya Bwana Spika, hasa ukienda tayari zitaanza kutengenezwa pale Nanyuki mahali kunaitwa Yadi Bwana Spika. Na najua hivi karibuni rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ataenda kufungua hizi nyumba, na najua ningependa kuambia vijana wetu wa pale Nanyuki na Laikipia wakae chonjo wakingoja kwanza kazi zitapatikana na wataweza kufanya zile kazi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo nina kila sababu ya kusema ya kwamba naunga mkono mswada huu wa hotuba ya rais Bwana Spika. Ni dhahiri shahiri Bwana Spika, rais alionekana katika sikukuu iliyopita Bwana Spika akizindua hawa wauguzi wa nyanjani Bwana Spika. Na tayari tuna wale wauguzi Bwana Spika. Mimi nilikuwa hata pale Laikipia wakati governor wa Laikipia alikuwa akizindua wale wauguzi wa nyanjani Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo hawa wauguzi 100,000 Bwana Spika wako na tunajua wanaendelea kufanya kazi nzuri Bwana Spika, na watakuwa tegemeo kwa sababu Bwana Spika, nchi ambayo haina afya Bwana Spika, hata utakuwa na ukosefu wa watu ambao wanaweza kufanya kazi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo ni kweli Bwana Spika, hawa wauguzi 100,000 tayari wako chonjo na wako gangari na wanaendelea Bwana Spika kufanya kazi ambayo wanapaswa kufanya. Bwana Spika, jambo lingine ambalo rais alilisema na ni nzuri zaidi ni hawa vijana wetu wa National Service Bwana Spika. Alisema ya kwamba wakati huu watu watachukuliwa kiasi cha watu vijana 40,000 Bwana Spika. Na Bwana Spika, kile kilichonifurahisha ni alisema ya kwamba ati watachukuliwa katika vijiji vyetu kila mahali Bwana Spika, hawa vijana wetu wa National Service watachukuliwa. Na Bwana Spika hakusimama pale, alisema baada ya wao kuenda katika National Service Bwana Spika, wakimaliza kusomeshwa pale Bwana Spika, wao ndio watakuwa wakiingia katika sehemu zile ambazo askari watakuwa wanajiunga, wanakuwa ni askari polisi Bwana Spika. Baada ya kumaliza pale, alafu wanaenda katika masomo ya askari polisi Bwana Spika, askari jeshi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo vijana wetu katika sehemu zetu zote watakuwa wameguswa, na hili ni jambo muhimu sana Bwana Spika. Hata kama mtu hawa 20% Bwana Spika, hata kama hawatajiunga na polisi Bwana Spika ama jeshi Bwana Spika, hawa watakuwa wamepata maarifa Bwana Spika. Wanaweza kuwa wao ndio wanaweza kutengeneza barabara Bwana Spika, wanaweza kuweka nyumba maji Bwana Spika, na vile vile kuweka stima Bwana Spika, kwa sababu wataweza kusoma haya mambo Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kuna jambo lingine tena alilitaja, alisema ya kwamba Bwana Spika, katika nchi yetu ya Kenya kuna shida Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tunapata mazao lakini masoko yetu Bwana Spika si mazuri sana. Alisema vizuri ya kwamba tutakuwa na masoko katika sehemu nyingi za nchi yetu ya Kenya Bwana Spika, na zile soko Bwana Spika zitakuwa na stima na maji Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, hata ijapokuwa nimesikia ndugu zangu wa upinzani wakisema ati hotuba yenyewe haikuwa nzuri, Bwana Spika, Mswahili anasema mngala muue na haki umpe. Kazi nzuri imefanywa Bwana Spika, na ukitembea utaona haya maneno yote yakifanyika Bwana Spika. Na si hapo si komei hapo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu nakumbuka alisema hii pembejeo, kwa sababu wakati mwingi unapata iko katika miji yetu Bwana Spika. Alisema ya kwamba ipelekwe katika sehemu za mashinani Bwana Spika. Ukienda Nyahururu Bwana Spika, alisema isipelekwe Nyahururu peke yake, isipelekwe Nanyuki peke yake Bwana Spika, ipelekwe Rumuruti Bwana Spika, ipelekwe Salama Bwana Spika, ipelekwe Matanya Bwana Spika, ipelekwe Dhome Bwana Spika, ipelekwe sehemu ambapo watu wanaweza Bwana Spika kupata pembejeo bila kuwa na nauli yote wanalipa Bwana Spika. Na hiyo ndio kuinua hali ya maisha ya watu Bwana Spika. Na Bwana Spika, wengi ambao wanaongea unga, ukitembea uangalie bei ya unga Bwana Spika, ni vizuri. Alisema ya kwamba inategemea ni unga upi Bwana Spika, ni unga upi ambao wewe unausema Bwana Spika, kwa sababu wengi ambao wanaongea hapa Bwana Spika, mahali wananunua unga Bwana Spika ni hawa ni mambo jenye Bwana Spika, hawa si wala lahoi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri waangalie mahali ambapo rais alisema, na mimi nataka kukomesha hapo na kusema ya kwamba Bwana Spika, naunga mkono na sema ya kwamba vile ambavyo rais alisema tuendelea kumuunga mkono Bwana Spika, na wananchi wa Kenya waweze kupata afueni Bwana Spika. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Asante Senator. Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to rise by saying that I really do support and appreciate the address of the President, His Excellency Dr. William. To me, to start with, is that the address was just very to the point in terms of even the timeline that the President was able to use, and direct to the main issues that we had been able to promise Kenyans during the campaign period. He did not even get off the things that so much we had not deliberated, but it was very much focused. It was a very well-formed address, which he was able to put it and put it across very, very well. Let me start by appreciating the fact that the President, even way before the address, we have seen that he's been able to move across all the 47 counties, ensuring that there's equal development. This is because all Kenyans are paying taxes and are eligible to equal distribution of resources and services to this country because it is in their right. I've had colleagues from the opposition today speaking and trying to bring the issues of shares and trying to indicate that Kenya Kwanza government has tried to just offer services to the regions that were able to support them, which is totally not the case because we've seen him actually in the western region, whereby of course we did not fetch much, but equally distributing and looking at the blueprints in this region, ensuring that development is given as required by the law. Mr. Speaker, I note, even before I point out some of the issues that the President was able to address, I do note that very sadly that our colleagues from the opposition have been very negative and stated the reasons, some of the reasons that they could not attend the address last week on Thursday, pointing issues right, left, and center. But then you wonder, why would a whole honorable member who has been elected to represent his or her own people in different regions not create time then to have an opportunity to speak with the president of this country, a president who is a president of everybody, who interacted with everybody on Thursday as we saw, who was also having different talks with different members on different issues in this country. And if the opposition in this house are very, very genuine as they try to claim, then that is the time they would have sat and had an opportunity to discuss with the president on the different issues that they felt were not addressed. That is what a leader does. One thing I want to appreciate is that I know that they were very keen to listen to the progresses, and then they listened to the president because he's the president. And if there were loopholes, if there are areas that had not been touched, it was the best time to come because they have access as members of parliament, unlike the voters maybe who have minimal access. They have had a very great access that day to meet with Dr. William Ruto and have different discussions. As we saw, members were trying to have that. So the point of trying to lie, trying to sadly tell Kenyans at this time that they were comfortably seated and drinking and whining, yet they are trying to claim that they are here fighting for the cost of unga for the Kenyans. It is sad. It is sad. That is the time they would have used to ask Dr. William, why have you not done this or why have you not done that? Then at that time, at that platform, they would get a response that they would then communicate to their people who actually put them in these different offices. One thing that made me very proud as a woman is the issue of the healthcare promoters. We in this house and the National Assembly were able to pass the Universal Healthcare Bill, Universal Health Coverage Bill, which had different acts in terms of the digital health, among others. And I'm happy because the president, during the, was it Mashujaa Day, was able to commission over 100,000 healthcare promoters with also equipment. And this happened across all the 47 counties. Why I say I'm happy and proud is because most of this job has been undertaken by young women. And so they were able to have an opportunity, and also the president promised that the national government, also in collaboration with the county government, is going to set some kitty, some amount that they are going to give them and reimburse them, the healthcare promoters. And it is a good progress, because a healthy nation, then a wealthy nation. And these are achievements that are highly being achieved also through the bill, the health bill that was passed. From the digital perspective, in ensuring that there's quick servicing because then we move digitally. At the same time, matters of the amount that is supposed to be paid for healthcare, you find that both the people who are able in a position to afford and those ones who are not able to afford, then it gives an opportunity whereby everybody is covered. Article 43 is very clear in terms of emergency, medical emergencies. From next year, as it's going to kickstart, then you'll find that a Kenyan is eligible for emergency health at that particular moment. Mr. Speaker, the issue of judiciary allocation, 3 billion allocated to judiciary. At the same time, the appointment of the 6 judges. This is a big achievement for us as Kenya Kwanza, and ensuring that judiciary is independent, something that we've seen, and something that even this House respects the court rulings. Mr. Speaker, digital transformation. I've had some comments in terms of, oh, it's not happening, it's not here, because you just want to sit and drink and depend on hearsays, not even being factuous, because you're in a position to afford even bundles. So you use those bundles that you can be able to afford to deal with rumors. You are in a house that you are able to get facts and reality. And we've seen how the digital hubs have been implemented, all still across. And they are continuing to be implemented, which is something that is going to create job opportunities for our young people. And this is something I want to urge the opposition to try and look at some of these things in a very positive way, so as to encourage the young generation that even voted for you, so that they can be able to have an opportunity to make extra cash, because these are stations, these are areas that they can be able to make income as required. We've seen the e-government services. As we speak, we started with about 300 e-government services. As we speak right now, and the president was able to point out, we have over 13,000 services. And at the same time, the government is still continuing to ensure we have more digital services in place. The beauty of it was agriculture, Mr. Speaker. Of course, food security is a very important key issue. And us as Kenya Kwanza, we focused on the cost of production. Because without focusing on that and reducing the cost of production, then the end product or the service that's supposed to be rendered becomes expensive. And one of the elements and the products has been the issue of fertilizer, that our colleagues have tried to negate, because I don't know if they don't do farming or which area they belong to. Because when a cost of fertilizer comes from Kenya shilling 7,000 to where we are at 2,500, even if you've not so much gone to school, this is natural, that you can be able to know that you need the basic skills to ensure that you maximize your farming productivity, so as to ensure that there is food security. The cost of unga that they refuse today. Then how will you know if your work is to sit back and drink from morning to evening, and you don't even have time to go and go, because when you go back to your house, your meal has been prepared, you do not even know, and you don't have time to go and find out. We are coming from a 250 cost of unga today, and it's ranging between 150 to 180. That is the range. But how will you know? Why don't you want to understand? Why don't you want to come and face the president himself and ask him and tell him, this is like this or this is like this, so that he can be able to respond? You disappear. You go whine, you go drink, and you think that is going to build and give Kenyans the right answers. As I wind up, Mr. Speaker, the issue of housing. I'm happy because as a Nairobi delegate, job creation. I've attended one of the groundbreakings of the housing project in Nairobi, and I'm happy to state, even before this House, that the local manufacturing, the Jua Kali associations, they have been brought together so as to ensure that they are given the first priority of the local supplies in this country, be it the doors, be it the windows, whatever is needed that can be produced locally. That opportunity is accorded to them. That business is according to them. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the Hustler Fund. We had the president said very clearly that he was able to communicate with one of the beneficiaries of the Hustler Fund. Hustler Fund is something that we went to our voters, talked to them, and got to understand what is the problem. They were able to say the challenges that they get through the Shylocks. And we were able to focus on Hustler Fund. Hustler Fund today, as we speak, we have 36.6 billion, which has been disbursed. We have 2.3 billion, which is on savings, and we have 7.5 million, which we have the repeat customers, meaning it is working well, it is helping Kenyans. They are able to also increase their credibility levels. These are big achievements that we've been able to have and ask, and I want to wind up by asking colleagues from the opposition, use the opportunity that you have as a parliamentarian to talk to your president directly, so that all the questions that you felt that were not addressed, they can be addressed. Stop hiding in clubs, in bars, in the name of that you could not listen to the president, and get the right answer so that you give your people the right information. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mohammed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I know we don't have much time, but let me say today, Honorable Speaker, in support of this motion, the President's address, Article 131, 1C and 240 of the Constitution elaborates that the President should have a State of the Nation address. The one that was held recently, it was the 10th one, and I want to say, Honorable Speaker, the President started a journey that was started on 13th September 2022. And subsequently, that journey gave us a retreat on 16th and 17th of September 2022. In that retreat, I want to say the President passionately and convincingly talked about some very important issues. And I want to say those issues are deep down in my heart, and I really appreciate that retreat. He talked about universal health coverage. He talked about deposit at NSSF, and he talked about affordable housing, among many others. Mr. Speaker, this government was elected under the bottom-up economic transformation. And it is the duty and the responsibility of our President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, to make sure that that is achieved. And I want to congratulate him and immensely thank him for the address, because it follows what he has started, a journey he has started on the 16th of September 2022. Mr. Speaker, he has said many things. Among those things, I want to just talk about a few. Number one, he talked about the issue of healthcare, which is very, very important. In his address on the Mashujaa Day, the President talked about dispensaries having problems with the medication. The medicines, the drugs at the hospitals are being stolen, and the President said we are going to have committees to manage the hospitals and the dispensaries. And that is a very important aspect. And the people, and especially Marsabit, are talking about this a lot. So, Speaker, the other thing he talked about is about judiciary. He talked about judges, that is very good, and he talked about 3 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, the 3 billion the President is talking about is an excellent way of trying to make sure that the judiciary is independent and free to do their work. But the problem we have, if you have looked at my statement, today's statement, I talked about courts not being finished, and we have especially Marsabit Court, which has been under construction for some time now, and we need to know what has happened with the 3 billion shillings. And it's not only in Marsabit, in many areas, in many counties, they've not finished the projects. Mr. Speaker, the President talked about fertilizer, which is also very important. Mr. Speaker, I have a farm in Naivasha, a place called Indabibi. My major crop is beans and maize. Mr. Speaker, we planted maize, we got fertilizer from the government, we bought at an affordable price, and instead of harvesting 4 bags, we harvested 7.5 bags per acre, which is a very good incentives from the government. And the other issue the President raised was about 300 million, which is going to be paid to settle the 2 billion Eurobond money. That is very important because it is going to help us in getting affordable credit also. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, the President raised is about affordable housing. Mr. Speaker, affordable housing, about 2 weeks ago, I talked about affordable housing, and I've been talking about affordable housing. The President, in his desire to give the people of Kenya affordable housing, he tried to make houses affordable by introducing free land, free taxes, and free transfer fees. Mr. President is doing well. But the problem we have, Mr. Speaker, is I talked about scam 2 weeks ago. Scam, in normal dictionary, is fraudulent or deceptive act or operation. Why do I say it's deceptive and fraudulent? What is happening if you look at the motions we have, issues about Buxton. We had people coming to this house, complaining about Buxton Estate. We have Jamii Bora Estate in Kisaju. We have got Jericho Ofafa. We have Kibera Soweto. And we have also Jogoo construction going on. Mr. Speaker, I will say it is fraud today and tomorrow also, because the fraud does not come from the government. It is from individuals who are working in the government. And the government, the President, should check what is happening between the counties and the developers. Currently, the agreement in the normal circumstances is between a county and a particular developer. In an open market, Mr. Speaker, a developer and a landowner can go into contract. And the contract is very clear in many occasions that the developer who is going to develop the houses will have 70% of the houses that's going to be built, the units, and the owner of the land will get 30%. In these contracts, which are like it's being called affordable housing, it is 10% for the landowner, which is the public, and 90% for the developer. That's why I was saying it's a scam. Finally, Mr. Speaker, let me also talk about our region, which is ASAL. The President talked about many things. He talked about bailing out farmers, coffee farmers, sugarcane farmers, where my friend, Senator Kalwale comes from. He talks about coffee, bailing out coffee farmers, sugar farmers, tea farmers. And what I didn't hear from the President, and very important one, is he didn't talk about ASAL region. In Kenya, ASAL region counties are 80% of Kenya's landmass. And 36% of the population lives in ASAL region. And 70% of national livestock herd comes from ASAL region. And 90% of wild animals. Mr. Speaker, we've lost over 70% of our livestock in ASAL region, mainly Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Turkana, Samburu. Mr. Speaker, the President has not talked about how he's going to resettle the IDPs we have and those people who've lost their animals. At least there should have been some kind of compensation for our people. We are also Kenyans. We have all the rights like the people of Kakamega. Mr. Speaker, I would have wanted the President to address this issue. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there is something the President should address. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that corruption is a major problem, a cancer for this country. Mr. Speaker, according to statistics of 2022, corruption index, Kenya is at 22 points out of 100, Mr. Speaker. Least corrupt country, Kenya is 123 out of 180 countries. Our major problem is embezzlement, bribery, procurement of fraud. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the situation now, people are saying traffic police officers or police officers are the most corrupt. If we manage our economy, Mr. Speaker, if we reduce theft, which is at 30%, stealing of money through procurement, bribery, and embezzlement, we can afford to pay our police officers well so that they cannot get the small chies they are taking on our roads. People are saying police are most corrupt. I think it is wrong. The most corrupt people are the CSS and the PSS and the people who are heading government institutions. If they are not going to steal the 30%, that will make Kenya, at least police officers, to get more salaries, and the corruption they are talking about, or bribery, will reduce. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support this motion. But I should ask also the President not to forget the Asa region of Kenya, which covers 80% of the landmass of this country. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Senator Chute. I presume that you have concluded your motion. That is quite okay. Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 15th November 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Sittings. And in the order of business for the members this afternoon is that the members will be considering a motion that seeks to establish a special committee to investigate and report on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, that is the governor of Meru County. This is a motion that will be moved by the Senate Minority Whip. This is the Narok Senator, Honorable Olekina Lidamam. And this follows a motion that was approved by the Meru County Assembly to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, that is the governor of Meru County. And on the 27th of October, the Office of the Speaker of the Senate was informed of the approval of a motion by the County Assembly to remove by impeachment the Honorable Governor, and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the County Assembly. Now, you understand that in such proceedings or in such cases, then the Senate normally appoints a special committee comprising of 11 of its members to investigate the matter. This is pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81B of the Senate, that in this case the Senate usually resolves to appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Already the committee has been established comprising of 11 members, and this will lead to them investigating the proposed removal from office of Governor of Meru County. And pursuant to the House Standing Order number 82, to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the governor to have been substantiated. That is one of the order of business that, as members of the Senate resume from the 1-week recess, will be embarking on to establish the special committee of 11 members that has already been set up and will be tasked with investigations on the proposed removal from office of the governor of Meru County. So that is a business that in this afternoon sitting we will be hearing from the senators on the way forward. But as it is, this motion is already in place, and the members will be taking into consideration this particular motion that will be moved by the Senate Minority Whip, Narok Senator Honorable Olekina Ledama. This afternoon, the members of the Senate will also consider the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on the application for conferment of city status to the municipality of Eldoret. This is a motion that will be moved by the chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, Honorable Sheikh Abbas. And in this report, the committee indicated that in this report, the committee recommended the elevation of the municipality of Eldoret to the city status, having met all the requirements of the law to achieve the said status. These are recommendations that have been provided for in the report by the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. And remember, debate on this particular motion already took place extensively in the Senate chambers, and this afternoon it will be a resumption of a debate that was interrupted on Thursday, 19th October 2023, before the Senate proceeded on the 1-week recess. And this afternoon, the mover will be called to reply. The Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi, as you can see, has stepped into the chambers. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good afternoon.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our church. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Well, at the commencement of House business, the House needs to have a quorum of 15 members in the chambers seated. This is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 40. And upon the arrival of the Speaker, and once the Speaker takes the chair and after the prayer, if the quorum has not been achieved, then the quorum bell will be on for 10 minutes as having been directed by the Speaker. Currently is the 10-minute quorum bell. This is, of course, to allow members who may be within the precincts of Parliament but yet to get into the chambers to be alerted that their presence is highly required in the chambers for the House to attain its requisite quorum for the House business to commence. That is the Kiambu Senator, Honorable Karungo Thangwa, walking in, as well as the Garissa Senator as well. So what we are likely to be seeing now is that members will be trickling in, but the Sergeant at Arms is alert. Once the quorum is achieved, then he will be alerting the Speaker and the Clerk, and the Speaker will call the House to order, of course, to start the business of the day for this afternoon sitting.
Honorable Senators, I take this opportunity to welcome you back from the one-week recess. In accordance with the calendar of the Senate for the regular sittings, Part 5 begins today, Tuesday, 31st of October, 2023, and will conclude at the rise of the Senate on the 7th of December, 2023. Now, Honorable Senators, you will observe that this will be the last segment of the Senate calendar, regular sessions of the Senate in 2023. It will be a short, indeed a very short one, and that before the Senate undertakes the December-January recess. The resumption of regular sittings in this last part brings with it a certain degree of urgency to conclude the legislative agenda of the Senate. I believe that together we can navigate the intricacies of our legislative procedures and make meaningful contributions for the betterment of our country. It is in this context that I therefore urge that we redouble our collective efforts in a bid to conclude the business of the Senate by close of the session in December 2023. I also urge the office of the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, and the committee chairpersons to do all that is necessary within the standing orders to expedite legislative processing. Honorable Senators, I wish you fruitful deliberations and wish all of you well. I have another communication to make. Honorable Senators, via the letter reference CONF/MENA/CS/Volume 1, dated 19th of October 2023, the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National Administration submitted a request to my office seeking the approval of the Senate for the deployment of officers from the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support MSS mission for Haiti. The communication from the Cabinet Secretary indicated that at the meeting held on Friday, 13th October 2023, the National Security Council considered and approved a memorandum number NSC 2313, from the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration and the Attorney General for the proposed deployment of officers from the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support MSS mission for Haiti, pursuant to Article 248A1 of the Constitution. Honorable Senators, Article 239(1) of the Constitution states as follows. The national security organs are A, the Kenya Defense Forces, B, the National Intelligence Service, and C, the National Police Service. Further, Article 248A of the Constitution provides as follows. The Council may, with the approval of Parliament, deploy national forces outside Kenya for regional or international peace support operations or other operations. Now, Honorable Senators, this being a matter of immense national importance, I hereby refer the requests of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration to the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. The Standing Committee is required to consider the request and undertake public participation and table a report thereon on or before 15th of November 2023 for consideration by the Senate. I thank you. Honorable Senators, you may walk in. Senator Manzo, it's not opportunity to exchange greetings. We got business to transact. Senator Ledama, kindly take your seat. I need to make a communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, visiting delegation of members of staff from various counties undertaking the County Assembly's legislation tracker training. Honorable Senators, the County Assembly's legislation tracker is a platform where information on legislation passed or being considered by the county assemblies is uploaded. The platform will also provide a centralized online space where members of the public and the relevant stakeholders may access bills, legislation being processed by specific county assemblies and promote openness, transparency, and public involvement in the legislative process as required under Article 196 of the Constitution. It is envisaged that the Senate will utilize the system in accessing first-hand and synthesized information on bills and acts passed by the county assemblies in undertaking its oversight and legislative mandates. It is for this reason that the Senate, with the support from the Westminster Foundation of Democracy, WFD, engaged a consultant to develop an online legislative database that will bridge the gap on information on the trends in enactment of legislation by county assemblies. I request each member of staff represented to stand when their county is called out. Meru County. The delegation from Meru. Thank you. Marsabit County. Okay. Tana River County. Taita Taveta County, Lamu County, Kilifi County, Garissa County, Kericho County, Kirinyaga County, Laikipia County, Tharaka-Nithi County, Turkana County, Uasin Gishu County, Nyeri County, West Pokot County, Muranga County, Baringo County, Nyandarua County, Trans Nzoia County, Elgeyo Marakwet County, Bomet County, Nairobi County, and lastly, Nandi County. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Majority Leader under 1 minute to extend some words of welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join you on behalf of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya to welcome this visiting delegation from our various county assemblies who are on a study tour of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate continues to make its contribution in growing and nurturing our various county assemblies through various avenues, one such as the one that is presented today before us. It is my sincere hope, Mr. Speaker, that the delegation will get the full value of their time in the Senate, get to interact with our staff, very competent and well-trained, able, so that as they retreat back to their various county assemblies, they may pass on the same knowledge and skill to our various county assembly members, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know for a fact that despite the fact that you're on the third cycle of members of county assemblies, many of them are yet to learn the art of legislative work. It is difficult to think off the top of your mind outstanding legislation that has come either by way of government bills or privately sponsored in our county assemblies that has significantly changed the way of life or even improved on the quality of life of the various people that these assemblies represent. Therefore, I believe that the training that is being received by these senior staffers of our various county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, will go a long way in helping impart and pass on that knowledge. Because it's a fact, Mr. Speaker, that, and I need not hide this, that even the bills that are considered and passed by this House are done so with the very great input and guidance of our staff, members of staff. Therefore, I hope the colleagues that are here from the county assemblies can get on to learn and train our county assemblies as well. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages.
Senator Mogeni and Senator Eddy, we are waiting for you to take your seats, so kindly hasten. Now, honorable senators, I have the following message to pass to you. I wish to report to the Senate that pursuant to Standing Order 48, I received the following message from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Meru regarding the passage by the County Assembly of a motion pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act for the removal from office by way of impeachment of Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. The message was transmitted to the Senate via letter reference number M/Volume 4/43, dated Thursday, 26 October 2023, signed by the Speaker of the County Assembly of Meru and received in my office on Friday, 27th October 2023. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 48.5 of the Senate, I shall now report the message to the Senate. This is to inform you that on Wednesday, the 25th day of October 2023, the County Assembly of Meru, via the resolution of the Assembly and pursuant to the provisions of Article 181 of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, Section 33 of the County Governments Act, 2012, as read together with the provisions of Standing Order number 65 of the County Assembly of Meru, Standing Orders, approved the motion to remove from office the Governor of Meru County by way of impeachment. The purpose of this letter is to, therefore, inform you of the aforementioned resolution and to forward the same to your esteemed office in line with the provisions of Section 33(2)A of the County Governments Act 2012 and Standing Order 65(6) of the County Assembly of Meru Standing Orders for your further action. Attached herewith, please find a schedule containing the bundle of documents, records containing evidence adduced, notes and records of proceedings before the County Assembly for your reference and records. Senator Sifuna, just walk in. Now, honorable senators, as stated in the letter from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Meru, the following documents were forwarded to the Senate, being the record of the proceedings of the County Assembly and the evidence adduced in support of the impeachment motion. 1. Copy of approved notice of motion for the proposed removal from office of the Governor dated 16th of October 2023. 2. Order papers for the County Assembly sittings held on Tuesday 17th October, morning sitting, and Wednesday 25th October 2023, morning sitting. 3. Certified Hansard reports of the Assembly sittings held on Tuesday 17th of October 2023, morning sitting, and Wednesday 25th October 2023, morning sitting. 4. Certified Hansard reports of the Assembly sittings held on Wednesday 18th of October 2023, afternoon sitting, and Wednesday 14th June 2023, afternoon sitting. 5. Copy of certified signatures of County Assembly members in support of the impeachment motion for the removal from office of the Governor of Meru County, dated 25th of October 2023. Certified copy of a roll call vote of Wednesday 25th of October 2023 on the motion for the impeachment of the Governor of Meru County. Copies of the County Assembly reports referred to during the debate on the motion for removal of the Governor of Meru County. To wit, A, report of the Select Committee on the County Budget and Appropriations on the budget estimates of the County Government of Meru for the financial year 2023-2024, dated 13th June 2023. B, report of the Sectoral Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Cohesion on the compliant by His Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Meru County, to the County Assembly against his alleged exclusion from the County Executive Committee meetings and non-facilitation of his office, dated 17th of October 2023. And C, response to petition number 4 of 2023, urging the County Assembly of Meru to investigate the alleged illegal employment of traffic marshals by Her Excellency, the Governor, Meru County, and alleged illegal traffic charges by the Meru County Enforcement Department. Copy of a letter reference number DOM/1 2023, dated 24th of October 2023, by Mrs. Dunstan Omari and Associates Advocates, addressed to the Speaker of the County Assembly of Meru. 9. Copies of newspaper advertisement appearing on the Standard and Daily Nation of Wednesday 18th of October 2023, and copies of invoices for radio advertisement in Muya FM, calling for submission of memoranda on the notice of motion for the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County. 10. A HP flash disk, 2 GB, containing video annexures evidencing the particulars alleged in the motion, as well as a voice advertisement on the public participation on the motion run on Meru FM and approved notice of motion and exhibits. 11. Copy of public participation report dated 25th of October 2023, laid on the table of the Assembly on Wednesday 25th October 2023. 12. Copies of written memoranda, both in support and against the impeachment, from different sub-counties and regions, submitted to the County Assembly during the public participation exercise on the motion. And lastly, a booklet of the 3rd edition of the County Assembly of Meru Standing Orders. Now, honorable senators, in terms of Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33(3)A of the County Governments Act, and Standing Orders 81A of the Senate standing orders, the Speaker of the Senate is required within 7 days after receiving notice of the resolution from the Speaker of the County Assembly to convene a meeting of the Senate to hear charges against the governor. Pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81A of the Senate Standing Orders, I hereby proceed to read the charges against the Governor of Meru County as contained in the motion of impeachment by the County Assembly of Meru. Senator, kindly take a seat. Charge number 1, misappropriation and misuse of county resources. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor, 1, embezzled county funds through the governor's relatives, 2, withdrew county funds through false claims of payment for supplies and services rendered by the governor's relatives despite being ineligible to tender for or supply goods to the county government, 3, paid full salaries and benefits for over a year to 4 high-ranking county officials, despite them not rendering any services to the county. And 4, diverted and misused county resources, including funds and motor vehicles, to support the governor's private charity, dubbed Okelea, despite previous promises to keep county operations and Okelea operations separate. Charge number 2, nepotism and related unethical practices. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor, 1, fraudulently represented unqualified relatives as technical team for medical equipment inspection in China. 2, employed 1, Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, a nephew to her husband, in key county positions. And 3, designated her brother-in-law, Nefat Kinyua, as director of external linkages without transparent and competitive recruitment. And lastly, assigned diplomatic duties with engagement with foreign diplomats and dignitaries to unqualified relatives. Charge number 3, bullying, vilification, and demeaning other leaders. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor, 1, excluded the deputy governor from county executive committee meetings and other official functions. 2, engaged in bullying and posted demeaning messages about the deputy governor in WhatsApp groups known as Third Government 012 and County Admin Services, whose membership includes several officers who are subordinate to the deputy governor. 3, encouraged and condoned insubordination and the making of insulting and demeaning public utterances by subordinate staff against the deputy governor and other elected leaders. 4, encouraged and condoned the removal of the deputy governor by junior officers from official county WhatsApp forums. Arbitrarily suspended, dismissed, withdrew, and frustrated staff of the office of the deputy governor. Illegally, irregularly, and fraudulently hounded the deputy governor's staff out of office by purporting to accept their non-existent resignations. Arbitrarily reduced, suspended, and withdrew budgetary facilitations for legitimate operations of the deputy governor's office. Threatened to inflict bodily harm against the deputy governor orally and in a WhatsApp chat. Forcefully broke into and ransacked the deputy governor's office. 10, changed the locks to the said office. 11, arbitrarily relocated the deputy governor's office. 12, arbitrarily withdrew security from the deputy governor's residence. 13, persistently made demeaning public utterances against other elected leaders, despite the same issue featuring prominently in previous impeachment proceedings. 14, made insightful, insulting, and demeaning remarks against other leaders by falsely accusing them of cartelism at a presidential Thanksgiving service held in Lare, despite the issue arising in previous impeachment proceedings. And lastly, encouraged connived and condoned her husband's insulting and demeaning public utterances and musical performances against other elected leaders, despite the issue arising in previous impeachment proceedings. Charge number 4, illegal appointments and usurpation of statutory powers. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor did the following. 1, appointed Kenneth Mwiti Riungu as chief officer without county assembly approval. 2, sent Dr. Nitoiti, CEO of the County Revenue Board, Paul Mwaki, CEO of Liquor Board, Kenneth Kimanthi Mbaye, Managing Director of Meru Microfinance Corporation, and Joseph Kithure Mberia, CEO, Meru County Water and Sanitation Services, on indefinite compulsory leave with full salary and benefits in usurpation of powers of the appointing authorities. 3, deployed other persons to perform the functions of those sent on compulsory leave in breach of a court order. 4, appointed unqualified persons as acting chief officers without the requisite competitive recruitment and recommendation from the County Public Service Board. 5, recruited traffic marshals without involving the County Public Service Board, disregarding the criteria for establishing county officers. 6, usurped the powers of the County Public Service Board by creating traffic marshal offices. 7, employed an excessive workforce of over 100 personnel staff in the governor's office. 8, designated and paid various cleaners as senior support staff, despite already having 16 support staff. And lastly, appointed 4 individuals to hold county offices in an acting capacity for more than 6 months without proper authorization. Charge number 5, contempt of court. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor did the following. 1, grossly violated Article 10 and 73 of the Constitution. 2, Section 7, grossly violated Section 7 of the Leadership and Integrity Act and Section 10 of the Public Officers Ethics Act by engaging in a contemptuous, stubborn refusal to obey lawful court orders. Charge number 6, illegally naming a public road after her husband. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor did the following. 1, grossly violated Articles 10 and 73 of the Constitution and Section 7 and 11(1)(c) of the Meru County Honors and Awards Act 2018 by naming a public road after her husband without following the applicable statutory procedures. Charge number 7, contempt of the Assembly. The particulars of this allegation are that the governor did the following. 1, refused to honor summons from the County Assembly's Secretarial Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Cohesion to answer questions related to the impeachment motion. 2, directed her Chief of Staff to send a contemptuous letter to the Assembly in response to the summons for her to appear before the Secretarial Committee. And 3, through the CC Finance and the County Secretary, refused to furnish documents to the Assembly on the grounds that an audit process was underway and that the matters raised by the Assembly were sub judice. Now, honorable senators, in terms of the way forward, following the reading of the charges against the governor, Standing Order 81B of the Senate Standing Orders, as read together with Section 33, subsection 3B of the County Governments Act, gives the Senate 2 options on how to proceed with the matter. The Senate may, by resolution, appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter, or investigate the matter in plenary. At an appointed time during this sitting, a notice of motion for the establishment of a special committee shall be given. Should this motion be carried, the special committee will be required under Section 33(4) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 82 of the Senate to investigate the matter and to report to the Senate on whether it finds the particulars of allegations against the governor to have been substantiated. In the event that the motion for the establishment of a special committee does not pass, the fallback position is that the Senate shall proceed to investigate and consider the matter in plenary. In this event, I will appoint the dates on which the Senate will sit in plenary to hear and determine the charges against the governor. Honorable Senators, it is noteworthy, and I wish to emphasize to all honorable senators, that when we come to the debate on the motion for the establishment of the special committee, debate on the motion shall be limited to the substance of the motion, principally whether or not to establish a special committee. It will not be a debate on the substance of the impeachment or its merits, propriety, prudence, or even the constitutionality or the legality of the process that have been preceded the submission of this matter to the Senate. It is therefore not permissible to deviate to any matters other than the motion before the Senate. In the meantime, and during the pendency of the impeachment process in the Senate, I wish to caution honorable senators to desist from publicly commenting on the merits or demerits of the impeachment motion before the Senate. Doing so would amount to anticipation of debate, which is an infringement of Standing Order 99. Therefore, it shall be out of order within the meaning of Standing Order 122 for any senator to make comments, whether written or spoken, in relation to the conduct of the governor or the impeachment process, which is outside the confines of the impeachment proceedings, as such comments may prejudice the just outcome of the process. Now, honorable senators, this is the third impeachment hearing in the 13th Parliament, and the second one involving the governor in question. In undertaking this mandate, the Senate will be sitting as a quasi-judicial body and will conduct investigations into the alleged infractions of the Constitution and the law, and thereafter make its determination on the matter. As such, it is a reminder that the impeachment hearing is not just a procedural formality, but a fundamental process that plays a crucial role in upholding the principles of democracy and good governance. This hearing is one of the most crucial oversight tools and singular roles of the Senate. I conclude by urging honorable senators to exercise the highest level of responsibility on this particular matter. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing. Senator Karungo. Senator, I just called the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing, Labor and Social Welfare, to present a report. Are you ready with your report, Senator?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following petition report on the table of the Senate today, 31st October 2023. Report of the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Nicky Muoko Mwancha regarding the construction of a pedestrian bridge at Chiromo along Waiyaki Way in Nairobi City County. Mr. Speaker, the petition regarding the construction of a pedestrian bridge at Chiromo, Nairobi, was presented on 19th April 2023 and committed to the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation and Housing for consideration. Mr. Speaker, sir, this petition was presented by Mr. Nicky Mwancha whose prayer was that a pedestrian bridge be constructed at Chiromo area, Nairobi. In the consideration of the petition, Mr. Speaker, the committee engaged the Ministry of Roads and Transport, which committed to construct pedestrian bridges at 5 points along Waiyaki Way. Mr. Speaker, sir, whereas the Ministry of Roads and Transport was not committed on the timelines when the construction of the pedestrian bridges would commence, the committee has proposed implementation of milestone that will hasten the process of committee of budget for construction of the pedestrian bridges. The committee, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order, honorable senators. Kindly take your seats and may the senator be heard in silence. Senator Gloria. Senator Omtata.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The committee has also made recommendation in this report for implementation of short-term speed control measures to ensure pedestrian safety when crossing the highway. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee did not meet the petitioner, and I underline, we did not meet the petitioner because it was difficult to reach him, because at the time of submitting the petition, he never left his email, his telephone number, or any contact, Mr. Speaker. And as such, the committee has proposed an amendment to the standing orders of the Senate to provide as a condition of admitting petitions that petitioners should provide their telephone contacts, email addresses, so as to enhance communication between the House and the petitioners, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we never called that petition a ghost petition. Despite not reaching the petitioner, we worked diligently, and the department has committed to construct 5 pedestrian crossing bridges along Waiyaki Way. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. Senator Abbas. And Majority Leader, you are consulting rather loudly. Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following petitions report on the table of the Senate today, 31st October 2023. Report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, and petitions to the Senate by the Julius Warugu Wanjohi concerning the lack of implementation of the resolution to absorb contracted instructors under the Economic Stimulus Program by the County Government of Nyeri. Honorable Speaker, on 11th May 2023, the Senate received a petition from Julius Warugu Wanjohi concerning the lack of implementation of a resolution to absorb the contracted instructors under the Economic Stimulus Plan by the County Government of Nyeri. The petition was presented in the Senate on Wednesday, 24th May 2023, to the Deputy Speaker, by the Deputy Speaker, Senator Kaduri Murungi, MP, pursuant to Standing Order 223(1)A of the Senate Standing Orders. Consequently, the petition stood committed to the Committee of pursuant to Standing Order 238(1) of the Standing Order of the Senate Standing Order. Honorable Speaker, the issue raised in the petition was that in July 1989, the petitioner was employed by the...
Order, honorable senators. May the senator be heard in silence, please. Senator Mundigi and my deputy speaker.
The petitioner was employed by the Ministry of Education as a carpentry instructor 2 and bused to Kagodu Youth Polytechnic in Nyeri. Following the Constitution of 2010, the advent of devolution, the youth polytechnic training functions was subsequently transferred to the county government pursuant to the 4th schedule of this Constitution of 2010. As a result, all the staff who were in the counties in the 4th schedule, counties and performing devolved functions were deemed to continue providing services. In addition, on 2nd December 2014, a consultative meeting was held between the Ministry of Devolution and the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology and the Transition Authority to address the numerous issues that were facing the transition of youth polytechnics. The meeting resolved, among others, that the contracts of the instructors under the Economic Stimulus Plan to be extended to up to 30th June 2015, and thereafter the instructors be absorbed by the county governments on permanent and pensionable terms. The county governments were required to make budgetary provisions to pay the staff following the passage of the County Allocation Revenue Act. Further, the Transition Authority communicated the resolution to the county government for implementation, and thereby several counties implemented the resolution except the county of Nyeri. Mr. Speaker, sir, the petitioner's prayers were the Senate to look into the matter with a view of ensuring that amicable solutions into the issues raised in the petition, as well as make any other relevant recommendations in the considerations of petition. The committee thereafter proceeded to consider the petition extensively, and the submission received thereon. Honourable Speaker, it is noted that the Governor of Nyeri, Honourable Mutahi, being a key respondent to the issue raised, the petition was invited and actually appeared before the committee, together with other officials from the county, where he made submissions on the issue raised in the petition. The petitioners were also present in the meeting that was held on Monday, 31st July 2023. Upon deliberation on the submission, the committee resolved that they will give 21 days for the county government to attempt to resolve the matter at the county level and report back their decision to the committee. The committee received a written response on 24th August 2023. Upon consideration of the response, the committee made various observations, recommendations, which are set in Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 of this report, respectively. Honourable Speaker, the subject matter, the committee recommended on the petition as follows. The subject matter in the petition was canvassed in court, where the suit was dismissed. The petitioners failed to follow through with a bill. Further, prior to the hearing of the case number 264 of 2017, Joseph Kitonga Washira and 41 others versus the county government and 2 others that resulted to mediation efforts being made between the parties who included the petitioners. Nyeri County Government and the Nyeri County Public Service Board had failed. The committee therefore finds that the petitioners had not exhausted the court process to address their grievances. The committee therefore finds prayers of the petitioners to the Senate not merited. However, the petitioners may consider further engaging with the Nyeri County Government and the Nyeri County Public Service Board through alternative dispute resolutions mechanism to conclusively deal with the matter. The Intergovernmental Relations, who took over the functions of the Transition Authority, Council of Governors, and the Public Service Board, National Consultative Forum, should engage with a view of determining the resolving the issues of the status of the grant instructors. A report on the resolution should be submitted to the Senate within 90 days